Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Hotline League. It is a banger. We have a bunch of news that has dropped in the past week, a lot of sort of macro discussions to have about the space and big changes that are happening there. And then we also had an interesting weekend with at least one big upset that people, I think, can agree on was an upset. We'll be talking about that in a little bit over the course of the show, but there's just going to be a jam-packed episode. Let's put it that way. And who other than, as a co-host, than Cubby to help me sort through this jam-packed episode? How's it going, Cubby?
I'm good. Wrapped up my broadcast last night. I had my one break for myself, which was House of the Dragon, before I got up early today to record the Jungle. Then we napped. Then we're done with LCS VOD review. Now we have Hotline League. So yeah, this is like the fun part of the schedule, where I just get to watch all the league, and then I talk all the league. And then we take a break until it starts again. But
nice.
Excited to be back. And excited to have Raz join us once again.
Yeah, well, thanks for spoiling our guest. I'll introduce him in a second. But as you're talking about the cool stuff, besides getting to watch some LCS this weekend in person, which was the first time I'd done that for a little bit, I got to host, courtesy of 100 Thieves last night, my MTG Bloomborough pre-release. We had close to 50 people come out.
That's awesome.
My only victory was against Saint Vicious, unfortunately, but I went 1-2. But we had a lot of cool people come out. Jarvis Johnson, Iffy, for those that are familiar with him, Xtina GG, just a bunch of. It's been very fun because I've been meeting a lot of different people, a lot of creators from other areas in the gaming and esports space, and so I've been enjoying that. And also, not just creators, but also really cool people in the industry. So. Feeling great about how this thing has developed over the last 2 years of me running it. So feels like a big victory. But enough about me. I've got Raz here. A big surprise and big reveal right now. Our guest is none other than Raz.
Huge. Yep, that was the first time my name has been mentioned so far on the show. So
exactly.
Congratulations for that. Thank you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been great. Today was basically me having any semblance of rest. And then watching a little bit of wrestling with a friend, and then realizing I had to be on your show in about 5 minutes, so that may be the reason why I'm a bit late.
It's so funny because you were in the chat when I turned the stream on 20 minutes ago, and you're like, Travis, it's too early to turn on the stream.
Yeah, I was literally giving you shit for turning on the stream 20 minutes before the show and still managed to be late. So.
Yes.
I'm also sporting the Marvel collaboration that Team Liquid did. It's actually sick.
I was wearing that shirt last week on the show, so I'm glad you can continue it for our good pal Damien.
Hell yeah, of course. We must. We have to. So It's a lot of good stuff that's happening. Week of LCS that we were on the stage for. Impact getting his, historic most games played of any LCS player. So there's a lot of that happening. Sad for Wild Turtle, of course, as per usual, but...
per usual, you're usually sad for Wild Turtle.
It is what it is. It is what it is, Travis.
Would we talk?
There's a lot of things to be sad for. All right, Shopify Rebellion finally took a win, so that's maybe something to be happy about. But it took a while for it to happen.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you on Saturday evening. You were trying to decide. We discussed as you were leaving if you were going to eat Taco Bell or do something else, and I won't say what the other thing was. What did you end up doing of those two things? Did you do Taco Bell or did you do
I did nothing. I think I did neither. I went back home and then rage queued is what I did.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I would have been better served probably
with option 2, I think.
Yeah, with option 2. With
option 2 the opposite of rage queue.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm sad to hear that you had a much more stressful Saturday evening than you were planning on, but yeah. So, either way, so big news this past week. We have had, I'll just say moments ago, about an hour or two, I think. I guess maybe a little bit longer than that. We had announcement that Nas, who has been running LoL eSports at Riot for probably 5 years now, I think, but has been at Riot for much longer than that in pretty high up positions on the esports side. Is leaving the company after coming back from sabbatical, and I have funny personal stories about this situation to share, but that's pretty big news. Then we also had some Olympics news that the Olympics are going to be taking on like an eSports project, and I don't think it's actually that interesting. And I shared that take on Twitter, and then I got shit on by the industry because, yeah, I guess I'm being negative about something that they want to hang their hat on in this trying time. There's some drama on the subreddit, which, Cubby, do you want to explain what this is? Because you said this was, I saw this a couple weeks ago, and you referenced that, yeah.
Top of the subreddit right now is that the C-Law and C-Val teams, so C being collegiate, the winners have to pay for their own trophy. There was an article made about that a week and change ago, and that has now hit the front of the subreddit, so a lot more people are seeing it, and a lot of people are going like, what the hell, which is reasonable. So yeah.
So there's that. It was already referenced by Raz that Shopify got their first win this past weekend, and we are officially headed into this coming weekend a undefeated matchup between Cloud9 and Team Liquid. So that'll be very hype as we see those two teams face off on Sunday. So, and FlyQuest has now got to face Shopify, the destroyers of belief or whatever.
Boogie is back and he's pissed off.
Yeah. So Sunday is going to be an exciting day for us. I feel like Saturday is a skip though. Anyway, we'll get into all this stuff. Is there anything else I'm forgetting? I don't know, chat or anybody else want to remind me of some news? I feel like that's about everything. But maybe there is something I'm forgetting.
I mean, people can come in with their playoff takes because technically that's 2 matches away from playoffs. Like 2 weeks away from playoffs, 2, series. Which will feel weird, I guess, for a lot of people because, you'd think that there'd be a lot more games left. So.
Also, for the race for playoffs, we do have TL, C9, and FlyQuest all locked in. But with C9 playing TL within FlyQuest, that is pretty fun to wrap things out.
True.
And it does make the playoff race quite close because NRG are at 2 and 3. But then the next 4 teams are all at 1 and 4. And that could be very interesting as given that C9 plays 2 of the top teams to wrap up the last 2 weeks, there's a lot of teams playing each other in that stack.
And I forgot to mention, I mentioned this on broadcast, but people need to get used to the playoffs and how it works this time around. Getting top 2 seed matters a lot because then you get a bye, which means if you win one best of 5, best of 5 away from Worlds, basically.
Everyone's favorite.
Yep, a bye. So even though I may not like it,
he's my favorite Spanish personality.
That's so. I don't know why I laughed. I have no idea. It's so stupid. It was my type of humor. But yes, it's still better than championship points, so I'll take it. But yes, a bye I'm usually not a fan of. But that does mean that regular season placements matter so much more. So you need to be top 2, basically.
Yeah, I really wish that it was teams 5 and 6 get 1 life instead of a bye. I really hate the 1 best of 5 worlds, but it be what it do. And that's a good note. Also, tiebreakers are games won or game win percentage and then head to head, I believe, which can make a difference. Yeah, that can make a difference in terms of how we talk through this. So
yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, either way, some cool stuff to get into on tonight's episode. But while I guess folks are putting their takes in. I don't know, Cubby, do you want to do the spiel?
Yeah, if you guys want to call into the show, talk to Raz and us, feel free to go to Command Discord or discord.gg/Travis. Join. You can drop your take in pleb topics at me, at Cubby. I'll see it. If it's a good take, we'll drag you into the waiting room, and then we can go from there. And I've only dragged 2 takes in so far, so if you guys want to get on the show, there are a lot of takes that we'll go through, but still a lot of room to hop in and talk about all the stuff we have to talk about this week, which is quite a bit.
Great. I do want to do the sponsor shout-outs, but before I do that, I have to address the fact that APA in chat just said, "Why does Cubby look like Steve from Blue's Clues?" And it's maybe my favorite thing I've ever seen APA type into a chat, and I absolutely love that. So just wanted to highlight that.
Steve from Blue's Clues.
Gonna be a very good...
You don't know what he looks like?
Do not...
I need a refresher.
Oh my god.
I like that APA, who is like, I don't know, probably 7 years younger, is more
Yeah,
familiar
he
with
knows
Steve from
what
Blue's
Blue's
Clues.
Clues and you don't. I still remember when Steve from Blue's Clues fucking retired. He's like, I'm leaving. Here's the shitty new guy. Bye.
Yep. Yeah,
Bye.
right on.
I was like, all right. Goodbye.
You know,
And then he
the
got
the shirt.
announced. Didn't Steve from Blue's
Yeah.
Clues get announced as Doctor Doom like 5 years later?
What? I do not know what timeline you're living in. If that's the case, then that's fucking hilarious, and I need to watch that. But
Well,
yeah,
have a
I think
scene
you
green.
missed you've missed some news, Raz. Anyway, all
I
right.
saw the Robert Downey Jr. one. Yes, I did
Yes.
see that one. Yeah.
Seeing
yes.
green.
All right. Anyway, shout out to our sponsors for tonight's episode. Prize Picks, which is a great way to engage with League Esports and play some Prize Picks with your friends. We've got Kia. Check out their EV9. I had an opportunity to drive it out to Vegas. I just saw a rough cut on some of the footage that we're going to be putting out of that trip, so should be pretty cool for that. And then NZXT, which makes the PC that we are powering this with, and I've really appreciated everybody's messages to me over the past week or so of, in fact, before then even, of just NZXT stuff that they've been picking up, new PCs and all sorts of cool things. So thank you to our sponsors. We'll talk more about them later on in the episode. Also want to give a shout out to everyone who is subscribing over on Twitch. I talked about this at before we went live, but normally we hover around 750 to 800 subs, which is a significant amount of monthly revenue for TGI. But Twitch announced last month. Well, I think they announced it for a while, but it finally turned on this month that they increased the price of subs, and we went from, again, I think probably started July at around 800 or so subs, and I turned on the stream today, we were below 500. So anyway, thanks to Twitch for increasing the pricing, because I don't think that the increased cost is going to offset the losses. So either way, if you do decide to sub, it's very much appreciated. Also, we'll be putting out a members-only video, or I will be this week for July, over on YouTube if you decide to become a YouTube member. So just a lot of different ways that we try to create opportunities for people to support if they feel like it, and some cool rewards go along with all of that. So
Twitch said only the upper class can sub. Only the bourgeoisie can sub to this place, guys.
So what I'm saying is, if you are the bourgeoisie, I really need your support, because the peasant class is not able to sustain me at this time based off of Twitch's economic policy decisions, and I need you to let me eat cake. Anyway, I think we can get into the show now,
All right.
or at least some calls. Do you want to go
That's
grab
good.
Summoning Cubby? Thank you. Thank you to Slawcat for the 13 months. Swede gifted a sub to Raz. Titanium. Swede gifted Papa Smithy. Jamaica Bobsledding. The Noblet. We got Mars 2030. Narn Dieter. Thank you. And Miss Aunt Jemima. Oh, and Swede gifted to APA. That's very nice of him. All right. Our first caller of the night is here. Caller, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from D.C., Washington, D.C.
And what's your name?
Vex Shinobi, I go by Nick.
Nick. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I want to talk about your recent video. I don't disagree, nor am I really going to go down the path of like if franchising was good or bad. I 100% agree with you. People can retrospectively look back and say, oh, I knew. That's fine. I don't, though, agree with your take in regards to the Olympic game being something bad for a few reasons that I can
Let me give a quick synopsis. Well, actually, let me pause. We'll pause for the next 10 minutes so that everybody can go watch my video and get the full context of this. So everybody just... Okay, well, I'll be quiet while they open... No. I released a video today talking about... It's titled, I Was Wrong. And in the video, I'm basically saying, like, look, there's a lot of people who try to revise history to suggest that, like, everyone was against franchising, and there were these, esports elites that like pushed the premise of franchising, and so it was always doomed to fail, and in the video I was basically saying, look, I admit that I was wrong about a lot of the sort of assumptions that I had about franchising. I thought that it was going to do a lot of really great things long term, and while I do think that the system we have been in for the last 5 years was better than the system that we left, I guess maybe it's 6 years now. I do think that there were a lot of things that we got wrong, and that in a lot of ways the system has failed, which is why we're seeing a lot of these changes happening now and all that type of stuff. And one of the big criticisms, or one of the big assumptions I had that turned out to be wrong, was that the traditional sports world would be well suited for assisting esports level up. Basically, the idea of like, oh, we're going to go partner with all these great esports teams like the Golden State Warriors, or I don't know, all these different folks that came in, the Bucks, and traditional sports groups, even like ESPN or whatever, and that they were going to help level up the space. When in reality, I don't think that really ended up happening. They spent a lot of money. I think a lot of the sort of knowledge that came into the space from these groups was not particularly applicable and or sent us in the wrong direction. And so my argument has been that like I think that we are now returning to sort of our previous culture or understanding of what esports was great at, which was creating really great experiences for people who liked watching competitive gaming and people who are kind of steeped in gaming culture. And I felt like the Olympics was like a step back in that direction on the idea that like, oh, the Olympics are going to be really great. I don't think that they are necessarily going to create a great system for us. So now that I've set up the context for what my video said, and people are going to go check it if they want more context, Nick, do you want to continue on why you think I am wrong?
Yeah, and I don't think I wouldn't classify it as wrong or right, right? Like I think the overall video, I think you did a good job of explaining your inhibitions in regards to it. But I'm gonna provide a perspective that I had as top of mind thoughts as someone that actually was born and raised abroad in Europe, majority of his life, and is only recently in the States. First and foremost, the notion that the Olympic Games takes us a step back because it's correlated to traditional sports, I don't think that that's necessarily true. The way it's executed could vary drastically from other sports. When we're looking at traditional sports and the notion that you brought it up, Travis, at least in my understanding, you're referring a lot to the franchising and traditional sports that you see in the US. That's not necessarily how Olympics needs to execute it. It's an entirely new field. They can execute it in 50 different ways. It's going to really fall back on execution. It doesn't have to follow a traditional sport regime, especially considering that now you're looking versus countries rather than sports of, certain, let's say soccer within Germany or NBA, etc. That's number one. And please pause me. I'll just go through like my quick top of mind 4 points that I have, and then I'll open it up for your thoughts. But number two, I think it's a large audience, right? I don't think Olympics really need us right now. Olympics, I do agree, in the U.S. are hitting an all-time low from a viewership. Globally, they're hitting an all-time high. They're actually 140% increase from Rio 2016, and they had the new record of 29 million concurrent views during the opening ceremony. Now, I will say that there's a lot that happened in the opening ceremony that created chaos, and that sparked even more views. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but it has high viewership across the board outside of the United States. So it can actually reach an audience that otherwise it wouldn't reach, the esports scene of different ages, demographics, etc. And also, it will give legitimacy for countries to have a vested interest in an international tournament for esports. Outside of that, if you really think about it, if you don't go through the route of the Olympic Games, then what's your route? Esports themselves funding countries to try to say, okay, let's do an international tournament, which Riot, I don't think is going to do, at least in my opinion. And I also think you're going to end up falling back on sponsorships like the Saudi Arabia tournament and so on and so forth, which can cause a lot of friction there. And my last point is going to be in regards to local tournaments and fielding local talent. When you have countries fighting against each other, like let's say NA, the biggest argument, which I agree with you, Travis, has been NA doesn't have local talent. They always go and import. What better reason for NA to start, specifically the US, to start fielding local talent through different methodologies, because now they have to compete internationally as US every 4 years. It gives an extra reason to do that, where otherwise they don't have a reason. They can just import Koreans, LPL, EU, and they'll continue doing that because it's easier money, easier branding, etc., etc. So that's my high level point.
Wait a minute, Nick. You just said you were, neither agreeing or disagreeing. You sound like you're straight disagreeing with Travis here.
Um, I,
You can
I'm
say it. Say
Yeah.
fuck Travis, honestly.
Look, I'm disagreeing that it's going to be a bad thing. I understand that he has inhibitions. So I'm saying I'm not disagreeing the fact that he should have inhibitions, because they could screw it up. It could completely go awry. I'm just saying I don't have inhibitions. I actually think if executed, it's going to be beneficial for the scene as a whole.
I mean, if you want to argue it's beneficial, though, I would start with just it legitimizes it for people that don't know the space, which I know Travis might get salty at, but it does matter to a lot of people that don't know what esports are. Just to be like, hey, this is a part of the Olympics. Like, that is a shock factor, which is appreciative. I also don't think that this event existing is going to affect how teams actually build talent. I don't think that we're going to see less imports or talent change where it's allocated, or have more teams go with native talent if we have the Olympics involved. So I think if you want to make the good argument, you just talk about, like, stick with the viewership, stick with the fact that it legitimizes this in the eyes of people that don't know what esports is. And also, I'm excited for this event in the sense that I think it's a cool tournament format. I love the Overwatch World Cup. That was a really cool tournament to watch, and it got a lot of hype because you did get to see players on different teams compete under the same flag in a really competitive tournament. So I hope that we get that for the league as well.
So
I will agree with you that my hope in regards to fielding local talent is more of a hope and maybe a far-fetched one for countries to start wanting to have Spanish players, French players, German players, US players, Canadian players. Maybe I'm just being too hopeful. But yeah, like, as my first point, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
The reach is extraordinary that it will have in otherwise esports.
Yeah, I mean, I watched MDK this year. I think that people should care less about the flags on your team, So
I want to hear from Travis.
Yeah.
Travis, because we're contextualizing Travis's talk and saying that he's this or that. I want to hear from him himself.
no, I mean I'm glad you guys went, because I didn't want this to just be a Travis versus Caller conversation. So, all right, a couple things here, Caller. One, I know you said, like, you're worried. We want more tournaments, but if we just have, like, state-funded things like the Saudi stuff, that, like, it creates a lot of controversy, right?
Yep.
Did you know that this is a state-funded Saudi thing?
I mean, yeah, but it's through the eyes of the Olympic.
Yeah, I mean, like, all right. Let me read the line here from this article I'm reading. On July 23rd, 2024, the IOC announced the creation of the Olympic eSports Games in partnership with the National Olympic Committee of Saudi Arabia, with the first eSports Games planned to be held in Saudi Arabia in 2025. So, like, I don't... You are right that this is, like, in partnership with the IOC, but it does feel to me like it is something that would probably not have happened without Saudi money, and that it is taking place in Saudi Arabia for similar reasons to the reasons why the EWC stuff happened. And, like, obviously that's speculative. There's very little information out about this so far, but, like, this does not feel that different from what we have experienced within this past month. So, like, I just don't... I still feel like it is in line with all that stuff. Secondly, I know you said, like, this does not need to follow the traditional sports execution or whatever. But if you do think that the IOC is involved in this, like, the IOC exclusively does, like, sporting stuff. Like, the Olympics are supposed to be, like, the biggest global sporting event, of every 2 or 4 years, depending on what you want to count. And so I don't have a lot of faith that this group will come in and be like, but listen, We understand that we need to do this completely different, partially because I have yet to see a time in which people, like a sports organization or sports group, came in and did not try to apply the methodology of their skill set and their industry to esports, because it is why they get in, right? They're like, esports, well, that's just sports with an E in front of it. We could do that. We're one letter off. And I just don't like, I don't see a lot of times where people come in and do something different. You mentioned like the viewership stuff. I don't I would be really interested to to dive into the viewership statistics. It is not surprising to me that you are suggesting that viewership is up, for the same reason that viewership is often up when we go from like Worlds 2022 to Worlds 2022 to Worlds 2023, because you said like viewership is down in the US, but viewership is up globally. Well, it's no longer in a US time zone, and it's in a time zone that is much easier for people to witness, right? Or, like, it's just you get a lot more people who can watch and consume this stuff, including Asia, whenever it's in these times. I guess I'd need to look up the opening ceremony times or whatever. So like, I don't. And then you also said it's like a massive audience on the, but I don't think that we're going to get any of these people who are watching the opening ceremonies to tune into this like Saudi sponsored event in 2025. Like, I just don't feel like that is like that Olympics audience is going to translate over. And so like, even on the validation stuff that Cubby brought in, because that audience won't transfer over, I don't think that this is going to do much to suddenly bring in a bunch more brands or whatever. I mean, I guess like an esports team can stick this as like a slide in a deck that they're pitching to like a non-endemic sponsor. Maybe that increases the chances that these guys come in a little bit more, but like,
it's only if they have the athletes that are going to be represented in the games too.
Yeah,
which
it's like, this is,
how is that going to be figured out?
Yeah, it's irrelevant to them. And by the way, these teams, like, that's the funny thing and the ironic thing I feel like about the esports teams that are celebrating all this stuff is like, yeah, guys, you can put it into a deck, but your team is not going to be represented at this event. People do not go, like, the Lakers are not represented at the Olympics under the Olympics NBA, not NBA basketball team. Like, they represent the U.S. They don't represent any of these esports teams. So like, it actually doesn't, in my opinion, do much for any of the existing infrastructure here, which also means that those teams are not going to feel more incentivized to like recruit local talent. So I know you're being very respectful, and I love that you did this, by the way, because I see so many people just like shit on, I'll do a video and somebody will go and shit on it in the comments of the video, and I'm like, people should just call it to the show if they disagree with me. So I'm happy you did this, but I apologize to say that I don't think any of your points have like swayed me in this, but I'm happy to hear from you or Raz here as well.
I'll hear from him first because that was a pretty extensive take.
So I hear your points. I also hate when people just automatically, but I think that's just the internet, right? People just hide behind a screen and go shit on everyone else's opinions without being able to factually debate them.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with that. What I will say is, so to your first point, despite the Saudi aspect still being there for sponsorship, the promotion is still going to continue, right? May it be Saudi now, it's still going to be the IOC with Olympics going forward. And it might not be Saudi the next time around. It might be the first mover. It's still part of the Olympics, right? So that's one. It's going to stick around. I don't think I could be wrong, anywhere that it says that forever Saudi will be sponsoring this.
So the decision will see the IOC partnering with the Saudi National Olympic Committee for 12 years. 12 years is about as long as the LCS has existed.
So but that's not to say, okay, fair point, but that's not to say that anyone else can sponsor as well, right? And it's still under the IOC. So I personally don't agree with that being the same level of implication. Because in the end of the day, people are going to see it as part of the Olympic overall arsenal of different sports/esports before they see who's sponsoring it. So That's where my disagreement comes from. In regards to the audience of, you don't think it's going to translate over to esports. I also don't think you're going to see a one-to-one translation by any stretch of the imagination. What I do think though is that this people will be able to, Cubby's point too, right? People will be able to hear, oh, esports is now in the Olympics. What is this? I'm intrigued. Let me find out. Of different ages. So we'll just put it more on the map across the board when it comes to that. And lastly, in regards to Lakers not being represented in the through the Team of America within the Olympic Games, right? I don't agree with that personally because you do see players and you say, "Oh, where's this player playing from?" And that's a common conversation piece in basketball, in polo. I actually have two friends that, not going to name the country, but I grew up with them and they are in that national team right now competing. And we talk about how their competition in a lot of international televised events, how it impacts their respective teams, etc. So I do think you get representation for your team. Maybe it's not a direct representation, but you do say, oh, who is in from the NBA and in the Olympic U.S. team? Where do they play? So it's an indirect representation. So I do think the teams will have some more level than now, at the very least, vested interest to have some representation in the national team.
All right. Am I safe to come in with my take now?
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember being a part of 2018 Asian Games. I got the chance to cast and go to Indonesia for that one. And I got to see the positives and negatives of just like an Olympic body controlling and working around esports. First feeling was, holy shit, this is awful. It didn't really it felt like there was so much red tape around actually working the event. I could not watch replays of games that we could not see because they were under red tape of whatever broadcast that was covering it. And at the time, I think it was like a CCTV thing, which is like a Chinese broadcast company that brought the rights. So then you were like, wait a minute, if I can't commentate on games, or at least I can't watch games and watch the context of the games I'm going to commentate on. That's pretty shit. There was a lot of other red tape that I will not say. That's,
I mean, there were rumors at the time that people couldn't use certain language, like saying, "Oh, so and so kills this player" or whatever.
We could say someone killed him. That wasn't
Okay.
a problem with us at all. But like, it will reignite certain conversations. Like, for instance, like, I mean, we have to call them Chinese Taipei, versus Taiwan,
Sure.
stuff like that. That'll definitely be a conversation that comes up. So there is a lot of negatives in terms of the red tape there. My, I guess, weird positive on this is that because it's going to be in Saudi Arabia and the Savvy Games Group that owns ESL, that owns IEM, perhaps will be guiding it. That would be significantly better for talent that's working on it or the viewers that are watching it. So maybe it's going to be less painful from that viewpoint. Shit, I actually remember that Twitch literally got blocked on China just because, if people remember, Ass Dave, if you like Assassin Dave, but he was Ass Dave on Twitch, was like illegally broadcasting it on Twitch because all of the Chinese viewers couldn't watch it because there was a broadcasting rights issue for it to not be broadcasted to the Chinese audience or just like the Eastern audience. So it was like that was the insane level of red tape that existed, where they had like little the Chinese talent and everybody come in to commentate on the games, but it was being sent nowhere except for the English broadcast, unless if it was Ask Dave sending it. So I was like, it was so unbelievably shit because the Olympics body did not understand. I remember. I'll just say it. I remember I was like trying to say, I was trying to figure out, I was like, okay, there's a lot of new names, a lot of teams that I'm trying to cover and commentate on, like Team Pakistan or Team Malaysia. And I may not know these players, so I'd ask higher ups, like, hey, could you get me like an information sheet, something that gives me a better understanding of who these players are, how to pronounce their names, all that. They gave me a document with the most personal information of all time. Emails, passport information, phone numbers. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was so incredibly bad that I was like, God damn, I could literally email Faker if I wanted to. So, and call him if I wanted to. It was so insanely bad that I was like, if this is how the Olympic body is running esports, I would hate my life. I would hate my life. But I think in this case, I mean, we technically already saw I think in this case, because there are the right people, quote unquote, running it from the side of, weirdly enough, the Saudi side, that those issues wouldn't happen. But that comes into the problem, which we just kind of went back, we talked past, which is eSports World Cup. Like, I didn't watch the eSports World Cup because of the same shit. I didn't really want to support it or push it. That being said, very likely, much like every other esport, much like every other sport, it's just going to be a norm because Saudi is going to be buying out. They already bought out ESL. If they're having the Esports World Cup, it's going to be a yearly thing that we're going to have to talk about. So it's like it's going to be forced into the forefront that if you are covering esports, because I know the Dota crew, the CS:GO crew, that all those people have to normalize it, that it's going to be normalized from us too. So that shit's going to suck. The positive though, the few things I remember Clerky's tweet to you, the Maryville head. I remember that he made this mention to you, which is like the only thing that really helps is governmental support. This is definitely going to help in the conversation with states that help us get buy-in to build out youth esports infrastructure, which is very true. Like the difficulty that we have had in terms of being able to get buy-in from state by state or province by province or whatever governmental support and recognition, which is actually sorely needed to be able to get buy-in for people who want to get in high school, to be able to play this in schools, to then move up, of course, to find interest in playing it if they want to with teams as they grow up. Like that thing I think is needed. The Olympic body does help with that and also helps with sponsorships because there's a lot more legitimacy with that. So I think all of those things are good. And another positive from the Asian Games that I was there is nationalism helps greatly. LEC has been benefiting from the French community shitting on the Spanish community and the Spanish community shitting on the French community. Like the nationalism clashing against each other is something that has always made esports work well. Like what worked really poorly, I guess, for what was the other event that you guys had, an international event? It's on the tip of my tongue. Rift Rivals. Rift Rivals, yes, for North America, Europe was shit, but from China to Korea, that was the fucking biggest thing. That was incredible because of the nationalism that existed there. That had like people and fans feuding. So it will create a lot. I think it will garner immediate interest. And it will actually, I do think it will shine a light on new talent because it maybe not so much in Canada and USA or China and Korea. Those will be far established talent. But for like Poland or perhaps Team France or with some of the other smaller countries, if a person pops the fuck off on those games, it will happen at least 1 or 2 games. That will create a bigger light on those players and they get the opportunity to play with somebody that's a larger name. So I think in terms of the concept of it, I love it. I do love it. And I think we should probably see something like that because there's already an interest in it.
I mean, like, I wasn't a huge Overwatch fan. I watched the Overwatch World Cup, and that was awesome. It's a really cool event.
I would love something like that. There was something called the Sound Blaster Cup, like back in 2011, I think. That was where we got, and then there was also WCG. That was where we got like Chicks Dig Elo and all these teams and like ancient stories that nobody remembers. I would love an event like that. I don't think it needs to be run this way, and I don't have a lot of faith in its ability to be truly representative of what it could be if like Riot is not building it into the schedule, which it sounds like they probably would not. So
we're just gonna have another random break, I guess, you know.
Which crushes viewership. Yeah. I just like I agree. I can definitely get behind the idea of like let's get Team USA versus Team Canada versus Team Korea versus Team Germany, etc. I just don't this ain't it for me. And Nick, I again I really appreciate the fact that you've called in. Maybe I will be wrong about this too. Maybe I was wrong about my assumptions on franchising, and then like, you know, this thing will happen next year and people will be like, this was the greatest esports event ever. They crushed it. But I remain skeptical because nothing in my experience leading up to this has suggested to me that like a traditional sports entity can create a esports product that feels better than, or even as good as something that the esports industry can do on its own. So I guess we'll see. But we've spent a lot of time on this topic, so we got to... Oh, go ahead, Raz.
A small thing, just a small thing, because I remember this. In 2018, I remember it was off stream, but like the Saudi Arabian team, which are like a lot of great people individually on the team. I forget the names of the players, sadly, because it's been too long. Like they took one game off of like the Taiwanese team, and like that was so big at the time. And those moments you could see. That's why it sucked that it was the Olympic Committee that was running it in that instance because you didn't get to see that moment. It was like raw emotion. They fucking celebrated off of one game and they lost the series anyways. They lost the series anyways. But
Yeah.
like that is still something that if we get moments like that, makes it worth it.
I mean, the nice thing is that I feel like everyone will get to say that were right about this because it'll be something like the Overwatch League where like everybody goes, "Oh yeah, we were right about that," and then all the Overwatch League believers will be like, "No, man, you don't understand. It was just like Blizzard's fault and also COVID." And so I'm sure something will happen like that with this, where like Riot won't give everybody the ability to realize this in the way that they want it to be realized,
Oh.
and so everybody will have something else they can blame, you know?
I lied. One last thing. You
Oh my
don't
God.
know how valuable it is winning a gold medal. Like being able to send that back home to your family is 10 times more impactful than being like, yeah, I won the LCS championship or I won the LCK championship because they don't fucking understand what that is usually, at least for sure. Like, it depends on how old the parent is or how disconnected they are. But if you say I won a gold medal for my fucking country, that means so much more, and you can tell from the players it means a lot too. So
I think
that's the
people
last
should
thing.
spend less time trying to get their parents' validation as an adult. All right, Nick, thank you for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
One quick thing that I'll say for food for thought is the outside of the gold medal, what the actual what do you win is going to be important to think about. For example, in the Asia Games, it was military exemption. Military exemption could go all over for most places in Europe too.
It,
Like in
it
most places that I know, that's important.
if
we
it's
could
an
do it.
IOC event, it should like if you do win gold, you should be exempt in many countries. No,
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that's also another win,
I was gonna
right?
bring that up.
So that's just like last point. Outside of that, I will say I want to be a little more hopeful in regards to it. At least I do come from a traditional sport background, so I think it's going to be beneficial. We'll see. Uh, Travis, thanks for putting out the video. Shout out to all of you for the work you do in the scene to have these conversations. And Raj, I'm pretty sure if like you and Captain Flowers cast the final, you'll see LCS viewership go as a combo. So maybe you guys should talk about that.
Yeah, thank you for calling in. And by the way, mega shout out to you for not being a coward and actually calling in because it's so exhausting whenever so many people want to shit on opinions or videos I make, and I'm like, I host a call-in show where people can come and have these conversations with me, and as you demonstrated, they do not need to be like heated or anything. So yeah, thank you for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Can I tell a quick story?
Sure.
A quick story about Asian. There was an LPL finals. We were doing LPL finals. It was a pre-show. They had told us that there's going to be a cosplay show and we have to commentate on it, and there's nothing we can do about it. And we're like, fuck, okay, we'll do it. Me and Frost were going to do it. And so Frost has had this great idea. It's like, oh, we're going to just commentate on like it's a fashion show and just make a joke out of it. And we did. We're like, oh, that Zaya is slaying. Look at that Zaya going crazy. And then as it was going through every champion, we realized, wait, these are the champions that were played in the Asian games that China won with. And then as the players were coming on, the literal players like CA and everyone stepping on the big stage and receiving their gold medals, we had to immediately shift as we realized, oh fuck, this is a serious event. Oh shit. No one told us. No one told us. And yes, this is CA getting his gold medal for his incredible performance. From taking the complete piss because they gave us zero information as to why we were covering it to be like, oh yeah, never mind. A stick up our ass. So I enjoyed that memory a lot.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's interesting everyone's just assuming that people are going to get gold medals. Like there's no evidence that that's actually what is happening here. There's a article I just saw a second ago called "No Esports Haven't Been Added to the Olympic Games," And it says the IOC has created the Olympic esports games, which will be separate games held in 2025 and not part of the Summer or Winter Olympics. So, like, I don't think they've even committed to the idea that you're going to win, like, Olympic gold or a gold medal, you know?
That's what they said about Asian Games, and they won gold medals even though it was an exhibition. So we shouldn't assume that they're not getting
I'm
gold
not
medals.
assuming they will or they won't, but I think that there is an assumption that they will, and I'm saying there shouldn't be an assumption either way. Your parents still might be just as disappointed as in you after this event.
Jesus.
Fair.
We're going to take a quick break to talk about... we're going to take a quick break.
Time for a BetterHelp ad, right?
Yeah, no, nothing like that. Trying to figure out how to segue. I was trying to segue in, and then you guys just burst in, and now I'm like,
my bad.
Listen, folks.
Sorry for trying to riff, Travis.
You might not be able to win gold, but you can win at Prize Picks with your picks. That's right. Prize Picks, sponsor of this show. Head on over to Prize Picks. So Prize Picks has a cool new thing that they are doing. For a while, we have been promoting their sign-up bonus, which was a situation where if you signed up, they would match your first-time deposit. But here's the scoop. Now, actually, I should say starting tomorrow. So if you want to do your deposit match, tonight's the night to do it if you signed up and you're watching live. But starting tomorrow, the 30th of July, they now have a new sign-up bonus when you use my link and my code, which is Travis. And that's you place a $5 lineup to get instantly $50 of promo credit added to your account, no strings attached. So all you need to do is be a new user, sign up with my code, place a $5 lineup, a $5 prize pick match, and you win. If you win or lose, you will get $50 instantly added to your account as promo credit. It's a guaranteed win if you think about it that way. This new promotion provides unbeatable value, making it a no-brainer for all of those that want to do that. So thank you to Prize Picks. You can sign up through my link or use code Travis when you sign up. Doing so is probably the best way if you're just trying to figure out what is the best way for me to help Travis and his content by sending in a little bit. Maybe some people are like, hey, should I sub? Should I do a super chat or something? This is the best way to support. So thank you to Prize Picks for doing this. Playoffs is coming up. Maybe take a look at that. Also, in the Prize Picks channel, we have people who are frequently talking about what players they're picking, their lineups, etc. You can go in there and you can ask them to see if you're having some questions about how it works or you're trying to get advice on your lineup. Go in there and chat with members of the community. I see King Manchi put in a lineup earlier this weekend, and you can go take a look at his and talk to him about that. So go check it out in the Prize Picks channel on Discord. But again, use code Travis when you sign up, or the link in the YouTube description or in Twitch and YouTube chat right now. Cubby's raising his finger dramatically.
I do want to throw out, they have a special promotion going on with the Olympics as well, where you can submit lineups where if you get 2 out of 2 or 3 out of 3 with only using events from the Olympics, if you win, they'll give you free lineups for the rest of the event too.
Oh yeah, the Paris Gobbies and Paris stuff.
Yeah, so cool. They have a promotion going on for that as well.
Yeah, looks like it's through August 11th, so that's pretty cool. All right, thanks to Prize Picks
I've been making some basketball lineups.
Oh yeah, how you doing?
Oh yeah. There's only been one game so far, and I didn't get mine in time for the one game. We got some coming up. We're rooting for LeBron James and Rudy Gobert to score points. I've never rooted for Rudy Gobert in my life before. I know, Raz's face just, yeah. So.
Well, we'll have to check in with you next week to see how it went. Anyway,
yeah.
Thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring the show. All right, let's get into the next call.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Looking at the Twitch chat, thank you to Bucketed Goblins, Mars 2030, Benjamin, Warzamad, Scrab Rangoon. Oh, Scrab Rangoon subscribed for 6 months at Tier 1. Thank you. Minor Biscuit, And then Scrab Rangoon gifted 5 subs. Thank you so much, so much. Shauna Tonin subbed for 69 months, which is very nice, but also surprising given that I feel like he disagrees with every opinion I've ever had. Jaffe58, thank you for the Prime, and Perchy99, thank you for the 31 months. We got our next caller here. It's none other than Icebreaker. Icebreaker, where are you calling from?
Yo, still calling from Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so my take is it can kind of evolve into a broader one, but it's really just the LCS needs to like take a good hard look at themselves after this year's like scheduling with all the breaks, and like with the third tournament next year, if they can't figure it out and, you know, get a more coherent and a more consistent schedule, I really don't know what they've been, learning the last decade they've been running this organization.
Yeah, do you have I like the take. Is there anything you want to add on to it before we dive in?
Yeah, I realize I am preaching to the choir a little bit, and this take comes from your video that you released earlier today. Um, but I guess one thing that I kind of wanted to mention is like the LCS has these, giant breaks, and they haven't done a really good job of filling them. And I'm not saying that they can't schedule around them next year, because who knows what Riot's going to do in regards to scheduling around their 3 different esports now, or 2. Um, so who knows what decisions they're going to make internally on that front. But like if they don't figure out a good way to fill the breaks next year with content, I really, I just don't understand what they're talking about internally. Like, I'll give a couple suggestions. I mean, have more closet matches. As someone who solely watches online, whether it's in the studio or the closet doesn't make a huge difference to me. I know it probably makes a difference to people in person and who like to go. But if it means that we get LCS every week instead of having a 3-week break, I'd much prefer that. Or if they're going to have a break where teams are going to leave for a tournament, take something from the NACL. Have the teams that are still in the US compete for some money matches. They get stage experience and they get a chance to potentially earn some more money. So, like, if this isn't really a take so much as like if we go into next year and the schedule is still the same, I I just have so many questions. So,
Who wants to take this first?
It's not the hottest take to say that we need to change the schedule to keep it more consistent. I think that with a lot of the scheduling talk, what I keep on going back to is how we had the condensed schedule last split or last year at this time because of the player walkout. It was 6 weeks, 3 games a week, and I thought it was really exciting having a sprint. I know it was a bit of a pain on the team and the broadcast having that one less day a week to prep, but from a fan perspective, having that many games, that much action, like you were able to follow a true arc within those 6 weeks and really get a feel for like teams going up and down from week to week. I think that the consistent schedule for me is a really big thing. I would rather have a summer split start obnoxiously late and not have the break. And with the 3 split system, I'm hoping like we are going to have breaks in the season, but I am hoping to have like a decent, like not have breaks in the middle of those splits. Also, we were talking about this. I recorded the jungle this morning over on Dexerto with Roxy, Medic, and Ginny. We were talking about how many games are played. Right now, Team Liquid have played, I believe, 28 less games than Fnatic so far this year. As Broxy was doing the math, it was 20 plus games was the difference. Now that is with LEC having a bonus split. But I, for one, am also just like 4 more games. I think going down to 8 teams, LCS didn't really adopt their format to like either way to actually have more games. We just got less overall. So
Cubby, out of curiosity,
like,
do you happen to know how much more Team Liquid has played than like the teams at the bottom of the LEC? Because I know that like the LEC is kind of feast or famine in terms of games.
It's real feast or famine.
I mean, if you're K Corp, we can do easy math. Because you played 18 games in the first 2 splits of LEC. and I think that right now TL is like around 60, but that also includes, I believe, them going international, because he was including like EWC and MSI in that for
Sure.
both teams. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't actually have a super issue with that. What we were pitching, or what was pitched today for spoilers for the jungle, was instead of having summer split and then summer, like the championship finals for LEC, just have an elongated summer split that's bigger than winter and spring, and then have that be the finals, which I would actually really like to see in the calendar next year for LCS. Like, I'm okay if split 1 is like a single robin, like best of 3, single round robin best of 3 for like even the first 2 splits. If we get something more for summer, I want to see more for summer next year for sure, and then get these breaks out of, like, no one likes the breaks, you know. So like,
I mean, they
would
have
love
to
a world
fit
where
the
we don't have
new
breaks.
global schedule, right? Which is 3 splits, a short run up to like the first international event, which is tiny and all stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I will say, like, the only problem with winter split for me was the fact that the championship points, which I despise, carry over, but also B, it just went to nowhere. Like, now they have an international event in which you're qualifying to, so the winter split actually has purpose. So I don't want people immediately kind of hating split 1, just because it's been really negative for the past couple splits now for LEC because it went to nowhere.
I mean, the winner of winter split made it to MSI, Raz, which is even more bullshit.
Yeah,
to be fair.
yeah.
So
I hated that shit.
yeah, I hated that shit too, Raz. I'm okay though, like, especially with it going to be internationally fearless format. I'm cool if that split is shorter, if we get better spring and summer splits. I want summer. If summer is as big as spring and winter combined, I would rather have that. I really would.
No season finals. No season
Yes.
finals. I hate
Yes.
that entire concept. It needs to go.
Yes.
I feel like
Fuck
you. Oh,
championship
go ahead,
points.
But I'm trying to remember. What was the original take again?
Raz. Well, this is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of beating around the bush because we
break.
can talk about like the length of splits and all that stuff, but the biggest offenders for the LCS this year have been these giant breaks that have been
the breaks.
thrown to accommodate Valorant and Riot's holiday break, which is essentially like, this is the thing that frustrates me about Riot, and it's ironic because I know I'm always like, well, we don't need to follow traditional sports stuff, but like, I think traditional sports stuff, like the NBA, the NFL, these people are here to make money. They're here to get a lot of viewership. That's what their businesses are based on, and they schedule fucking accordingly. And there are games that happen on holidays. There are games that happen, like the NBA is not like, well, guys, to accommodate our break in the middle of the summer, our vacation, we're going to shut things down. Like, I know that a lot of people look at the EWC break.
EWC?
What's that?
Didn't it accommodate EWC?
But it didn't just accommodate EWC. Like, I'm pretty sure last year there was also a break in the middle of the schedule. Look, for a long okay, so since Riot started trying to do this, like, cut this, for those that don't know, Riot has we're all going to take a week off in the middle of the summer break that happens every year. They started doing this like 4 or 5 years ago. I think it's really cool as like it's something that I would like to see more companies do, etc. When they first did it, LCS did not take that time off. The people who work the LCS got an additional week off later on in the calendar that they got to take, because like obviously the entire company can't go on break. Engineers have to maintain stuff, so there's like other times in which people go on break. And by the way, like, I'm sorry, I know there's probably a lot of people who work at Riot Esports who are going to hear about this, and I'm not going to make very many friends. There's a lot of fucking downtime for if you work at Riot Esports. Like, look at the goddamn schedule. There's a lot of time where people are like working very minimal hours because there's just like, you don't need to take this week off in the middle of July. You have time off in December or whatever. And I know there are some people that are working on like next year's plans or whatever. I don't want to just pretend that like work is only ever being done during weeks where games are being broadcast, but there's a considerable amount of time in the schedule every year where like the schedule is a lot lighter. Take your break then. Don't take it during this time. So
I bet you
I'm
that
lost.
they would rather have the break then too, Travis.
Personally, I'm lost.
Yeah.
Sure.
Last year, when did the break actually happen?
So it should have been around July 4th, if I'm correct. I need to look at
the player walkout. There was never a break. 'cause
Oh,
they kinda, like,
yes. maybe
But
that's
like,
what it threw
it was
off.
the original schedule versus the altered schedule. I believe there was going to be like 2 weeks of play and then a break, and then they were going to resume.
Yes, I'm pretty sure last year there was supposed to be a break, and then as Cubby's saying, like the walkout changed things. But this break has existed. Like Raz, where is that? There was the leaked email that Greeley sent that got it was sent around to a ton of different media, including me. I'd have to go find it, and I don't know how easily I could find it. Where Greeley was like when the EWC stuff first got leaked that it was happening, it was because there was internal communications by Greeley that were sent out to somebody who presumably was not happy about this to like multiple members of the media, and it said that hey everyone, as you're making your planning for your 2020 something along I'm paraphrasing, as you're making your planning for 2024 schedules, remember that this week is blocked off for Riot's like annual holiday break and also to accommodate the Esports World Cup. And so people were told that they could not schedule games during that time.
Okay, I missed that then.
Yeah. So like I actually don't know what they would have done if the Esports World Cup had happened, for instance, like the first week of August or something. But it is a twofer on why this break happens. And then obviously Riot, like I love Mark. I know why he says that it was to give the teams that competed in EWC an extra amount of time to recover from it. But like we all know that it was also Valorant happening that stopped it from being in the studio. Like why LCS had 2 weeks off versus everyone else who had the 1 week off. So
Can I put in for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
Oh, yeah, like with the break, it's like if Valorant's gonna be on the stage, like go to the closet, give the closet a new setting, every time you visit it or something. But like, as someone who, like I watch the NFL, when the NFL starts, I know that I am getting about a half an hour late to work every Monday morning for about the next 2.5 to 3 months, because I live on the East Coast, so Sunday Night Football ends at like 11:30 to midnight. So, like I build that shit into my schedule, and like, it's like with I know it's been brought up before, but with the LCS, it's like, well, it's on Saturday and Sunday for 2 weeks, and then it's on Thursday and Friday, and then it's gone for 2 weeks, and then it's back to Saturday and Sunday. It's just like you have resources that you could obviously be using. Like, your main audience is not in the LCS studio, or sorry, the Riot Games Arena, or whatever it's called. Like,
As much as I hate the closet, I do agree with the idea that like it's probably better to just run games on the closet if you have to than to skip weeks or put them on Thursday, Fridays.
Well, it's like people want more games. Like the teams want more games. Like people want more games. It's like I don't love the closet. Like I would love every, game to be in an arena with a crowd, but if it means having games every week consistently versus not having games every week consistently, please have more games.
I think we're all on the same page that we don't like the break, like in general. That the break just fucking sucks, and that no matter what, the first thing you learn as either a streamer or content creator is that consistent content is the most important thing. Like same time, same place, same day, and the worst thing is like changing up the schedule. Because I would even say the second worst thing with the break was when I think the week before the break we actually had a Friday day. So
it was Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, exactly. But like we changed our schedule on that week specifically, and that changes everybody's kind of perspective or expectation. So that part fucking sucks, and I'm pretty sure going into next year, I don't know what the hell the format will look like, but I hope that's the first thing that we change, is that we actually have a consistent schedule. And even in myself, while listening to the call and you talk it through, I asked myself, which one would I actually prefer if I'm, gun in my head between actually having consistent games on the weekdays or going on the weekends and then just, sharing space between Valorant and, going to the face-off arena. Like, it's between the two. And I still came to the conclusion that I would never want to fucking go to the weekdays, as tempting as it is to just have a consistent schedule, just because we actually have fans in the arena when you're on weekends. Like the last week that we just came off of,
That was big.
was big. That was
Yep.
great. I love seeing the fans actually fill the seats consistently. We need more of that. So I'm just praying to Jesus that next year we don't have breaks like these. And the only thing that I ever challenged with Travis there is that that it was anything past this year. There was one year in particular, I don't remember which one it was, when was it, Mr. Beast had his tournament in Vegas, and we went to Vegas for that one. I think there was like a 1 week break or something like that.
Oh yeah, that was the same time.
Yeah, that was the one break that I remember in my mind. Outside of that, I don't remember a break happening. So
No, they were going to do one last year. I promise you, Raz, that it's been
Okay.
it's been this way for the last while.
Okay, that's fair, because I felt like the challenge was literally just between EWC and Valorant and getting those two schedules together. And, if we can magically pop in a budget that just creates two studios, God, bless them. But I don't know. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's why I didn't really chime in too much, because it felt like such an agreeable take of just not having a
Yeah.
break. But I don't know what that solution is going to look like, because I have no
There's
idea what
nothing-
next year looks like.
There's nothing hot about this take, but when invested fans have trouble keeping up, that's a problem.
There's at least one person in this Twitch chat that I see active that could remind Raz that there was going to be a break for the Riot break last year, but he will not say that. All right, Icebreaker, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, I guess I'll end this on, like, as much as I have a lot of questions about what Riot has been, doing with scheduling for the last ever, pretty much everything that Mark has done with the, as the LCS commissioner, I've liked. So I will say I go into next year optimistic, even though I know that I probably shouldn't be when it comes to Riot games. And then I will just shout out the Overwatch World Cup. The 2017 to 2019 era is what made me fall in love with esports, and I looked forward to it every year, and eventually the US got the dub. So
Hell yeah.
I agree with
Yeah.
you on the second part of that. I really disagree on the first part.
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Where'd you get the name from? Because Icebreaker is a sick-ass name.
Is actually from my Blizzard.net account. I needed a name, and I looked at my desk, and there were Icebreaker mints, and so hence I was known as Icebreaker.
All right, they're not sponsoring the show. They don't get any corporate promotion. Thanks so much, Icebreaker, for the call. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah. Talk to you later. Bye.
Raz, we got to talk before you start trying to filter in this extra income into the show. I see what you're trying to do.
He didn't know.
I don't know.
That was a
question.
setup. Raz got him on the show. He knows he's been on the show long. How to get people pulled. He's getting a check from Big Mints in the mail.
What if I'm sponsored by Big Mint? That is true. It could happen. It's a possibility.
All right. I wanted to mention, by the way, it looks like we don't have anybody in the waiting room right now to talk about Naz's departure from the league. If nobody wants to talk about that, that's fine. I'll just talk about it at the end of the show. But I think it's fine if you are trying to get on the show and you want to be a bit of a sneak. Sometimes we seed some interesting topics in, and I'll say I think that would be a fun topic to talk about on the show tonight.
Yeah.
So Cubby's keeping his eye out for those. Either way, I think we can grab the next caller.
Sounds good.
Thank you to Jaffe58 for the 43 months, Perchy99 for the 45, and Dreamfall for the Prime. Perchy99 says, "My mom says I'm a gold medalist in her eyes." That's very delightful.
What if you had a real gold medal?
I'll say both of my parents are very impressed with my esports career. So this premise that you have to be a gold medalist to impress your parents with your esports career, I don't think is an accurate one. 504 Caesar with the $19.99 says, "Love the Olympics. Peace and love to YouTube and Twitch chats. Thank you, 504 Caesar, for the super chat. We got Shalom here. Shalom, where are you calling from?
Queens. I was on the show 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
What are you looking to talk about?
Well, first of all, Raz, huge fan.
Much love, brother.
You're a cool guy, of course. So 2 weeks ago, I backed up my boy Boogie. I slandered Isma a little bit, but I don't have any regrets on either. My take today is that Shopify is going to make playoffs and end the split top 3.
Whoa!
All right. Whoa!
What the hell?
Top 3. I think they were heating up toward the end of the last season.
Wait, sorry, you're saying like in standings they'll be top 3? I don't even think that's possible, right?
No. After playoffs, they're going to Worlds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, that's even crazier. That's actually even crazier than what I thought.
Well, one of them is actually impossible. The other one is
I'd have to
also
pass my
mostly
stats,
impossible.
man.
Anyway,
I'd have
sorry,
to ask
continue.
Sorry. I should have been more clear. Yep, but thank you, Cubby, for clearing that up. I appreciate it.
I got you. Fire off with the hopium. Let's hear it.
So yeah, they got the best ADC in the league without a doubt. Look at bot lanes, all right. Boogie actually did look good. I think he actually looked good on the AP junglers, right? Obviously there was that stat about their game time, whatever, who cares? They actually just 2-0'd. And he watches LPL and LCK, so they just have an LPL level jungler now. They're playing FlyQuest and 100 Thieves. They're beating FlyQuest without a doubt. Insanity's gonna shit on Quad. And
Which one?
Quad.
The caller doesn't. He says it doesn't matter. He could take both of them on. Basically,
Yeah.
that's what he's saying.
Okay, gotcha.
And
At
I
the same
think
time.
basically, if you're just looking at who the top 3 is at the end of the day, people think it's FlyQuest, TL. They're pretty good. But luckily, C9 are frauds, and Shopify is making it happen. There's no clear fourth. Dig season is over. Let's go Shopify.
So I just want to say in the YouTube chat, the last caller, whose name on YouTube is Icebreaker Mints and has the logo of Icebreaker Mints, says not a corporate account, by the way, and that person is still less compromised than this caller. I don't know how much Shopify is paying Shalom, but like it's got to be a lot. It's got to be a lot.
Are you on their contract? Are you on their payroll, brother?
I cannot say.
Good.
I will go out on a limb. I hope Shopify makes playoffs. Okay?
You hope? That's not on a limb.
No. It has nothing to do with this take, but I think how they looked the last 2 weeks, they deserve to be a playoff team. Ever since Boogie's come in, I know the energy games were something else, but there's a lot more direction with this team. Like, Fake God, for me, has actually put up some better games. They're more connected with Boogie. It's not like this like disaster train that I'm watching. Like, right now, I feel like IMT are out of playoffs, and then we'll see how things wrap up. But if Shopify made it, I feel like they might be a bit more competitive than, I don't know, who else would be left? Dig, NRG, 100 Thieves. I feel like Shopify had put up better games than 100 Thieves, quite frankly. I still feel like 100 Thieves, even that win they got against FlyQuest, like, they were getting rolled over until FlyQuest messed up, and FlyQuest, for me, had a pretty hard to execute comp. They weren't able to snowball. So I would rather take Shopify than 100 Thieves in playoffs right now. And that is the match in the last week.
That is a bit tough. I feel like Shopify and 100 Thieves problems are a bit flipped, where I feel like 100 Thieves bot lane right now has been really exposed for a few weeks now.
Yep.
We're all split. Whereas right now, top lane, God, the Pantheon game was just atrocious. I'm sorry, like, that was just bad.
I thought it was a good pick. It wasn't executed super well, but I actually think that Panth should see some play. Like,
Yep, I agree with that.
Especially into Croc. The pick actually, like, it had, like, you can do stuff, but yeah, like you could see they were looking for the Panth timers, but none of them were like game breaking.
All right, so I
Yeah.
blame the graphics and stuff like that Riot puts out for not making this more clear. But if you go to lolesports.com and you click on standings, I did not realize, and I realize this is my fault, but like it's so crazy to just see Shopify, Immortals, Dignitas, and 100 Thieves all sitting at 1 win and 4 losses next to each other. Like it's just like
Yeah.
that is half of the league have only won one match. It is
Yeah.
so crazy to see visually represented like that. I just looked at it and was just like, holy fuck, that is wild to see.
They're just
It's-
all playing against each other for the next 2 weeks. which
yeah. Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's like a
Yeah.
scheduling, like it's coincidence or
kinda
whatever,
awesome.
but it's so funny because there's only 2 weeks left. We're what is it? Is it 2/3? What is the? I don't know what the equation is. 2/3 I think of the way through the split, and more than that even. And like we have half the league have only won one match. That is so crazy.
Shopify versus 100 Thieves, 100 Thieves versus IMT, Energy versus Dig, Dig versus IMT. Literally, like, all of these matches are just happening back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
So it's it makes the schedule look so funny. It
Yeah.
just makes it look hilarious.
Yeah.
And funny enough, going into the last 3 weeks, I was like, Dig has the easiest schedule. They have Shopify Rebellion, NRG, and IMT, and they just lost to Shopify. They look pretty crooked at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I kind of want Shopify to be in playoffs. I feel like they were playing better than some of the other teams, and I feel like they would give more of a run than what. Like, I still don't think they're gonna crack top 3, but I'll be honest.
Very bold of you to say, Cubby.
Okay, I'm just gonna go out on a limb.
Can
Cubby
they win a
goes,
best
I
of 5?
still don't think they're gonna crack
Well,
top
yeah.
3. Like
I'm gonna go out on a limb.
Can they
I'm
win a
gonna go-
best of 5? I
I'm
think
gonna
they
go.
can.
I'll go out on a limb. I love this caller. You're on crack. I'm just kidding. It's just like, I love you, brother. They're not even going to make it to playoffs in my mind. I think the problem that I have currently is that I agree. I think they're better than IMT. And they should be able to get past Dignitas. I just think that Dignitas's next few games, they have to at least take one series. Like
Dig's gonna
surely.
clutch up.
Yeah.
I feel like if they don't clutch up, it's bad. But for real, Shopify versus 100 Thieves, like that could be for the spot.
I just think that Dignitas was given probably the best schedule they possibly could have had, which is have all of the best teams basically front loaded in.
Yeah.
That they probably wouldn't have beaten anyways. And then all of the weaker teams, when they have probably gotten better, and I say probably because it doesn't even feel like they've gotten better since the break, then they should be able to beat those teams. But this is not a dig take. This is more about Shopify. I think Shopify has just kind of dug themselves a little bit into a ditch because of the vast majority of the split. But I do think that just off their play, they're obviously better than Dignitas. They're obviously better than Immortals. 100 Thieves, I'm out on a limb for a little bit, just because even though I think the bot lane is rough, I mean, one big thing is that the top side, Sniper looked a lot better. He just looked a lot better in the last series that he had. And I think that if they can play a little bit more succinctly to the top side of the map, then they have a chance to at least take a series. So I don't think they're going to fall into bottom 2. So it's tough. It really is tough. Your take was that they'll get top 3, and it's like not even close. I don't even think they'll make playoffs.
I can see them winning their second best of 5 in playoffs. They're losing the first. I could see them winning a best of 5 though.
I don't
Just
know,
totally
guys. I don't know. I mean,
I could see one, Raz. I see a world.
I'm grateful that we're on a little bit more the Shopify. We're back a little bit.
True.
That's good. That's exciting.
We should take what we can get.
But what has Dig actually shown you that makes you feel like, oh, they can actually win one of these last games? Like, you don't think they're trying against Shopify Rebellion?
Okay, no, but this is the weird thing about Dignitas. Okay, like I understand, but they have some amazing games, and then they have the most dogshit games of all time. Like, they do have great games. In the same series, I think, which one was it? I'm trying to find it
versus
now.
TL or
Yes,
C9?
versus Team Liquid. The first game was catastrophic. The third game was ass. The second game was beautiful. Like, they actually have good games that they can muster together. They're probably just the most inconsistent team that I've ever seen, and they will not be able to lane swap. So let's pray to God they don't find themselves into another lane swap situation, because they can't do that.
We're gonna talk about Dig for the next caller, or
Okay.
one of the other
Okay, fair
callers.
enough,
I kind of want to
fair
get into
enough.
it.
Yeah.
I have thoughts on Dig, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. I guess for my part, yeah, I definitely think this caller is crazy, and I don't think that there's much of a need to explain why. I just like
I respect it.
At least you don't think I'm on coke.
if you had just said, yeah, that's definitely a Raz take. I wish that if you had said, I think they can make playoffs and even maybe put up a decent showing there, like I would have been like, all right, maybe. Like I definitely don't feel as though this team, from a player perspective, should have been as much of a struggle as they have been. But I don't know. I just don't. I think one match does not, against like a pretty chaotic team, I don't think is enough to make me think that they're gonna put up much more of a like. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the only match that they win for the rest of the year. You know, so which would be kind of sad, but it is what it is. Anyway, Shalom, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Yep. Shout out to my gamer girls, the Goob, Ryan, Ray, Rosie. Love you guys. They know how to pronounce my name. Shalom. Appreciate you all. And peace. Thank you guys.
Much love, Shalom.
Shout out to the Goob. All right.
That was a good call.
We're going to take a quick break to talk about NZXT. Thank you to NZXT for sponsoring Hotline League. They're an amazing partner, and it's been really cool. They are our longest. They are currently committed to sponsoring us for the longest time. They did a full year contract, which I really do appreciate. I see Numi linking their URL in the chat here over on Twitch and on YouTube, but it's also going to be linked in the description of all the VOD stuff and the podcast stuff. And if you go take a look at their stuff, it's something I would really consider a favor. You can take a look at their Player 1 Prime, Player 2 Prime, the Player 1, the Player 2. They've got accessories like the Lift 2 and the Function 2, their keyboard and mouse. There's got a lot of different things over there that you can check out, and maybe you haven't had a chance to try an NZXT PC before. Maybe you're not in the market for one right now, but guess what? They make great components. They make great accessories. But why don't you pick up a keyboard and give it a try? Maybe you look at that keyboard that's in front of you. It's got Cheeto dust on it. It's got Taco Bell sauce that spilled, it burst out at some point in time and you never did a good job of cleaning. You need a new keyboard. Go take a look at the NZXT Function 2. Take a look at that setup and get exposure to NZXT, because I don't know, maybe again, if you're not familiar with it, maybe just give them a try, and then whenever you're in the market for your next system, you can go pick up Player 1 or Player 2, or maybe get something custom built through them. Either way, thank you so much to NZXT for sponsoring the show. Use code Travis5 at checkout to save on your PC. Thank you to NZXT for sponsoring the show.
Shout out NZXT.
Yep.
And on to the next caller.
Yes, thank you. Off Cubby goes. Really appreciate having him do that. Ooh, I need to get that code. Numi, remind me, we need to get that code into the description of the YouTube video so we can make sure that's good. Shout out to Raging Pianist for the 10 gifted subs, and Above the Ocean for the Prime. That's always very much appreciated. Raging Pianist, I see you. You've been around forever. I always appreciate you and your name. Vexed Shinobi with the $5 super chat says, Nick, first caller, Dreamfall, thank you for a civil convo. Really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, next caller's here. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is gyrojoestar. I'm calling from Houston, Texas.
gyrojoestar, what do you want to talk about on the show?
You have a great name.
Thanks. I think that Big is the worst team in the LCS, but I also think that this should be expected, given that they've had the least amount of time to work together, and all the other LCS teams last split were actually pretty competitive with each other and didn't make as many changes.
Okay, so you're kind of shitting on them, but you're like, but it's okay. They're
Giving
supposed
them an
to be
out.
bad.
That's true.
I mean, do you think they have any chance at anything then? Because I mean, in your mind, it feels like it's just doesn't matter how long, as long as other teams have been in longer, they don't necessarily have a chance to catch up. It sounds like.
I think if you took any three of the players and three of the veterans, not besides Isles, and gave them a whole split where other teams are resetting, like if you put them in spring and gave them another rookie, I think they could probably become a decent team. But I think it's just too competitive for any team really to assemble 4 or 5 random players and then expect them to compete with.
Yeah.
like the better teams in LCS.
I do want to throw this to Raz, but beforehand, I just want to make sure there's nothing else you want to add. Caller.
Um, yeah, I think that they will make playoffs. I think that Shopify is like way better. I think IMT is even better. So yeah,
So you just think they're the worst team in the league?
yeah.
Yeah.
Love the
Raz,
content though.
think love the content. Raz, you were kind of a dig defender on that last call. Do you still
Yeah, I
stand by that?
was. I was a little bit of a dig defender. I do think that they're inconsistent, but they can pull together some good games. I think they'll get a series, and it'll probably be versus IMT. Um, I think Dig's honest problem, I had to think about it, and I don't know what their actual direction is as a team. Because my mind coming into this split was that when you bring in a lot of veteran players, like Jensen, Sven, Spica, and Licorice, they'll have a set idea on how they want to play the game because they've been on many teams in which they've had those tough conversations. So
Yeah.
I always thought that, you know, some of those players have had time off where they played solo queue, or some of them, didn't really do too much on the time off. Like they'll come in together, they'll be really rusty, they'll play like shit for about a week or two, maybe 3 weeks, but they have a break as well. So that's the one of the the only positive about a break, and I thought it
Yeah.
would help Dignitas. I saw your reaction, Travis, but it is what it is. As I thought that was, and I thought they would come back and they would at least through their scrims be able to have a set idea and would be a good macro team. That would be something that a benefit of having experienced players that have done it before, but they're probably one of the worst macro teams. It shocked me. And
Yeah.
I know that Dignitas has had like the whole meme about losing scrims and like the scrim enters and all these things. Like what you need sorely in teams or with like veteran players at times that does this is like you need just discipline. You really need to enforce discipline. So I don't know what I just feel like the system itself within the team is structurally flawed. And it's weird because I don't think the right choice would be like changing a player. I mean, look, at the end of the split, if it's done and they go into next year, and I don't know what's happening in Dignitas, what's happening in the league, all these things can come into play. But at least for this split, I actually think that like either a coaching focus or something to be able to zero them in and have those actual conversations because you cannot be having games like they did versus Team Liquid where like Trist is dying mid instantly. Like you're having, those tri-lane screens that we usually show between top lane, mid lane, and bot lane. And then this is one of the rare moments where everyone's dying in individual lanes at the same time. Like that's just discipline. I'm sorry. Like you can't be completely throwing early games like that. The weirdest one for me is the lane swap situation where they completely bombed the lane swap versus Team Liquid. And sure, you can
Yeah.
kind of get surprised by it, but they lost both sides completely and
Yeah.
and completely lost the game off of the first 4 minutes of it. So, and that's all the negatives. And I haven't even talked about the positives that we saw from their wins versus, if I remember correctly, it was like Cloud9 versus Team Liquid. Like they have convincing wins, I guess, but it's like a macro thing that's really weird. So
So yeah.
coaching focus for me is a big one.
I
Direction in
wanna
actual sprim, so they're not running it down. Yeah.
I wanna add on to that because I think that I'm with you, Raz. Like some of these early games, it does lack discipline. But I also look at some of these drafts and I'm like, how are you supposed to win? It
Mm.
feels like a lot of their drafts, like the Poppy, Ivern, Braum setup that they beat TL with, that's still a comp where like you're waiting for the other team to really make mistakes into you. And UMT had a couple poor Viego engages, and then they were able to turn the game from there. But it's not like they actually had a lead. It
I
feels
like
like
that comp though. Viego cannot do anything against
yeah, no,
Ivan.
yeah, Viego can't do anything in that draft, but like they stuck with that core for the entirety of the series, and they're
Mhm.
really like when I look at Dig's identity, I feel like they're looking to yeah, their early games are really bad in scrims, but it looks like they're kind of looking to not play the early game and hope they're able to hold on and turn things around later. And I don't think that's like helping them get better as a team because like they aren't playing with leads. Every time I look at Dig, they're playing from behind. Like they're playing to hold on to the map and hope they scale back into it. And so I think it's almost like they've given up on playing early game for me. And I don't see them being very proactive as a team. And I also like when you pair that with I think their inconsistencies, like I can go back through their tape and pick out games where I feel like all 5 players at some point have just had an invisible game. And it's not like it comes down to one person. I feel like if I had to point fingers somewhere, I think that like Isles this past week was very underwhelming for me in their series against Shopify Rebellion. I don't think Spica's had like the best split. Licorice and Jensen have both been on and off, and like have kind of, especially Jensen for me, has really gotten blown out in some of the waning phases. But it's not like they have like a super weak link. It's just that every game it feels like someone else is a different weak link.
Yeah.
And
Like versus the Team Liquid series, Licorice
yeah,
just completely getting bodied versus
yeah,
Impact. That
yeah.
happens.
And I mean, even like going, I mean, I know Fake God didn't have his best games against Licorice, but I still feel like Fake God held his own in the Cassante game, and like the Pantheon game, it's not like he was, getting smoked or anything. It just wasn't that effective in terms of snowballing the map. So I don't know. I think that Dig, like, for me, this team, the one positive about Dig last split is I knew what they were going to do. XU was going to play Rel. He was going to dive bot level 3. They're going to play the game out from there. And if the game got too fast for them and it went out of control, then so be it. But I got to say, that style for me would have fit a lot better with the Dig we see now. Because I don't really see much direction from Dig. It feels like a hold on and wait for the enemy team to screw up, and then we go from there. And I don't think it's helping Dig in the long run.
Yeah. I'm praying that they at least have a consistent focus this week, because
I want direction.
Yeah, because versus Shopify, they just got dove on repeat bot lane. When I was top lane, they were trading with a poppy lane, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure you just want to actually defend the dive as much as possible, especially since it was very after the first gank that came through. I was like, this is what they're gonna go for. So it hurts. The weird thing, I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop, that like they'll just have a good week and the narrative will change about them, because it just feels like they can generate those kind of games. But at this stage, at the split, there's no confidence that they'll have consistency. So, yeah, I mean, even though I disagreed with the last caller that Shopify Rebellion will get over them, it's because I think that they just had a long split of losing, and that was just because of the some of the decisions they made. So we'll see what happens. I'm still a bit of a coper that Dignitas will make it to playoffs and then instantly lose the first series. Like, they'll make it to playoffs. They just won't go far.
I think I'm right there with you, Raz. Like, it's funny because I think the LCS community has a tendency to like declare somebody washed long before they actually are.
Yeah.
I think for a long time we were super in on veterans and didn't like new players, and then we kind of switched the opposite direction. And when I look at this roster, like, I think these are really good players who I really respect, and they should be able to have more than one match win this split. And so maybe it is true, caller, that it is just the fact that they have a lot less experience together than every other team. But like, I don't know. I think that excuse is running out, especially with the giant break. Like, that was an opportunity for them to fix their shit, and I don't feel like they did. I am definitely I don't know. Like, I want them to be good. I was excited about this roster. I bought the goddamn T-shirt, which said like Dig Summer, or what's the Dig? We said
Dig Season, D6.
Dig Season, yes. And then we on the show called it Big Dig Summer. And then all of that, it seems like it's more like Small Dig Summer, and I think that's a little disappointing, because I want these guys to be good. I want them to be competitive. I honestly just wish we had like a fourth team that could pressure the top three.
That's all I'm praying for.
It feels like NRG has higher odds to be that team than Dig, and that's like NRG haven't done anything too consistently inspiring either. So yeah. I do want to say there are a lot of chatters asking if the meta will swap, if that helps Dignitas, just given Jensen's pool. I actually do think that we might see some more control mages come playoff patch if they are going through with some of the marksman nerfs. I think Oriana and Azir will see a little bit more play. I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the patch preview, Res, but
I haven't seen the
wouldn't be
patch
surprised.
preview, but that would definitely give the biggest boost to Dignitas is if they have control mages that they can play through mid, and it gives them direction of playing like consistent front to back. Because I thought the construction of the team at least made sense of having a weak side top laner that has done it before, and I imagine that they have control mage mid, and then they would play through bot lane, like be it Kalista, Varus, whatever the fuck, just give them a strong bot lane and let them roll. And they've changed that around mostly because they've been trying to figure out what works. At least this meta, I think, works well for Spica because he's an AP mage player to begin with. So I was like, oh, he already played Nidalee, Zyra, and Lilia heavily in solo queue running up to this, so this should work perfectly for him. But I just think that definitely control mages will work and help them. But I think their decision making is still bad and they need to figure that one out. So.
Either way, thank you so much, caller. Anything you want to add on here? I always want to give folks a chance to kind of respond to any of the stuff that we've said.
Yeah, I would just say, I guess bad news for Raz. I really don't think they're going to beat IMT. I think if you look at IMT's games, they actually, most of the time, don't do too bad in the early game, which I think is a lot better than the teams that don't have a plan for the early game, because at least it's like they have control, and then they just need to get better at doing something with it. So I foresee that they're probably just going to get ahead against Dig, and then Dig's not actually good enough to come back against them. It is the literal last game of the season.
Yes, I was about to say that.
Hype.
Yeah.
I've been the biggest IMT defender and hoper, and I have just given up. I have seen too many just disgusting mid games from them. They're just worse this split. I actually think last split they were unlucky. They feel legitimately worse this split.
I don't know. So I remember I had a segment earlier this split that like highlighted, it was like a Zyra game, and it was one of their lane swaps that they did, and it was like a lane swap bot lane into a dive top, and I was like, so I think their early games are good. There are some concepts that are actually doing really fucking well, and the execution falls flat. So I think, I think IMT is getting better. It's just not showing, and I don't know if we'll just see.
Raz trying to throw tactical a bone as he sees tactical pop.
No, I swear to God, I was gonna say that. All right, I swear to God, before I saw that name, I was gonna say it. I promise.
I saw a lot better play for me in spring, where like they were able to more consistently get leads. I feel like Mask and Castle were a bit stronger in spring. Castle had a decent performance, I think.
Yeah.
Tactical says I'm barking for that bone, Raz, and I don't.
Jesus Christ!
I don't know what. I'm gonna Google that to see if that's some Zoomer slang.
In my defense, on a waiting room when we were talking about rookies of the year and all that, like I was the one that brought up Castle because I said it's really fucking unlucky that, of course, he's not going to be brought up because he's on a losing team, but he's actually been performing well this year. So. Hey, it could, we'll see if they pick up some wins. They've always had some unlucky performances, like losing Baron to a Ezreal queue, stuff like that. But we'll get better.
Very good. Thank you so much, caller. Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, shout out to Kia. Shout out to Prize Picks. Shout out to NZXT. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. You're the best. Thank you for the call. Catch you next time.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back anytime.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've got 2 more callers. We only have 1 in the waiting room. So if anybody wants to get on the show, I think we've got space for 1 more. Make your desperate pitch or plea to Cubby if you want to get on. Otherwise, I'll just be the caller. All right?
All right.
All right. Off Cubby goes to get the next caller. Thank you to Shadow Spectre for the Prime. Really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who does sub. If you are over on Twitch, you can hover your cursor over the screen. You'll see a little purple crown pop up. And when you do, that will allow you to see if your Prime sub is available. And if it is, you can drop that in. It's actually very helpful.
You even save an extra $1 now because of the changes that Twitch made with the Prime sub, Travis.
Saving money.
Yes. Well, I make less money, but they save money. Anyway, Trespasser is here. Trespasser, where are you calling from?
What up, Uncle Travis? Calling from Downey, California.
That's Grandpa Travis to you.
What is this? Yeah, Uncle Travis? You're a little quiet.
Oh, my bad.
It's okay. The fact that you're in Downey means that, like, I don't know, presumably you could actually be some sort of nephew of mine. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Okay, so my take is that Naz leaving is good because in the past few years, I don't think there's been much changes to the global esports system besides like format changes to MSI and Worlds. So I think with the new like global head of esports, maybe there will be some good changes to come, like in LCS.
So
Those are
you're
some
so
pretty big changes.
you're still pretty quiet. I've got you at 200%. I don't know if you can get closer to your microphone, but
Oh, okay.
yeah. So your take is Nas leaving is good because you haven't seen enough changes to the global esports ecosystem, and you would like some sort of fresh perspective.
Yeah, yeah, basically. Also, Raz, Worlds and it's come on, they could do much better than that.
Oh, I think the MSI format is actually the best I've seen. Like, that's such a sick format. World is nice too, only because it gives us a chance to get into the top 8. I'll take it.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, for those who are not familiar, Nas has announced that she's leaving. She's been the person who's been running all esports for a while. She reports directly to John Needham. You might have seen her in interviews that I've done with both of them. I personally really like Nas. I find her to be... I always thought she was a very nice person, and you don't always get that in the space. And I do think she legitimately cared about League esports. I will say today was a very funny moment for me because around 6 months or so when Nas went on sabbatical, for those that don't know, once you've been at Riot for I think it's like 7 or 8 years, you can get a 6-month sabbatical where you just get to go on an extended leave and it's paid and all that stuff. I was talking to somebody at Riot, actually a couple people over lunch, and I was like, I don't think Nas will come back. Like, I think she will come back from sabbatical, and then she will immediately announce her departure. And it was funny because at the time they're like, oh, I don't think that's true. Like, she cares so passionately about the space that I feel like she's definitely... I'm like, you're kidding me. If I did that job for that long, and then I get 6 months to remember what life is like whenever I'm not dealing with every, like, emergency outage and all that stuff, and I'm sure... Like, she's been around in the space for a while. I'm sure she's in a position where she's not, like, both because she's highly qualified to go get jobs elsewhere and also because, you know, I think she's been at Riot for a long time. People have been at Riot for a long time tend to be in pretty good financial situations. Like, I don't think that she needed to stay. So it's sort of like, I just was like, I feel like she's going to come back and then immediately be like, cool, I'm out. And the other reason why I felt that was not just because of her personal situation, but also because this job is probably a lot less fun than it was even 2 years ago. Like, you come back, and it does not surprise me that the 6 months she decided to go on sabbatical were the 6 months where it's like, all right, we need to take, what was it, 9 regions down to 5. We need to figure out how to budget cut the shit out of all this stuff. We need to figure out how to launch a very controversial $500 Ari skid. Like, this has not been I do not feel like this would be a very fun time to be running the LoL esports global ecosystem as opposed to a couple years ago. And especially for somebody who I think has been used to what this was for a while. So it's just very funny. This is my little victory lap after very much correctly predicting that this was what was going to happen. Setting that aside, I don't think, caller, that you are going to see really any change whatsoever in the vision of the league, because for the past 6 months, Greeley has been running and operating the whole ecosystem. Chris Greeley was nominally the commissioner of the league for a couple of years before he stepped down for Jackie and then eventually Mark. He did something very briefly before he ended up switching over to Nas's team, and then he was kind of like Nas's right hand, and then essentially ran everything for the last 6 months. And so I think that I like Greeley. I think that one weakness of his decision making during his time that he wasn't running the LCS was a resistance to dramatic change. Like, when the league should have been, I think, seeing a lot of the changes that it's seeing now, I always likened him to like a peacetime president during wartime, and so I don't think that we will see like any dramatic changes outside of the changes that are being implemented because of Riot's budget cuts and sort of the top-down re-envisioning of what esports looks like at Riot. So I don't think you're going to really feel Nas's departure much, and you maybe would have if they were like, and we're looking for a new, fresh replacement. You know, who is the same way that people feel like Mark Z was like a refresh for the LCS. It's not like we're seeing anybody come into that role that is like the Mark Z of LoL esports. You know, so I don't think that you're going to see much of a change there.
If I may say, if it is Chris Greeley who's going to be the new head of global esports, that's pretty sad. In my opinion, he couldn't really do much for the LCS, so I don't know what he's going to do to change global esports, or LoL esports rather. And yeah, for me, I just think of him as like the guy who tried making LCS more like T Sports, and I started watching in 2018. So if that gives like a little more context, I
mean, to
I'm
give
not
credit
really,
to Greeley, like I think Riot was all in on T Sports, esports as T Sports for a while.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that was necessarily a Greeley thing, but I do think that like, you know, I think Mark, from everyone that I've talked to that has worked with Greeley, they really like him as a manager and as a leader of teams. I think that Mark's strength, listen, from working with Mark, it's fucking awful, but he's great as a person. Nobody's laughing at that, so it's going to make it seem like that wasn't a joke.
No, you seriously.
So, like, I just want to be clear that was a joke. But I do think that Mark is strong on the vision side, and so my hope for Greeley is that he is able to take in sort of the different types of visions from the people that are around him, like Mark, to sort of build like the future of the league, because I do think that is where I think he's great as a manager and as a person who can like oversee a lot of things. I think he is best when he's probably taking in the vision from folks like Mark.
Yeah, one thing I would caution people on, because I even ran into this mistake literally at the very start of the topic when I said that, oh, the MSI format is amazing. And then Papa Smithy was like, I don't think she made that decision. Or like, so it's like, I don't know what people do individually in a leadership position. Riot is a very corporate structure. So I was like, it's very, very difficult to pinpoint whose decision was whose. And even if it is someone's decision, it will be like reported or put out to the public as a team-wide decision. So like even saying it's like, oh, I think this change is going to be great because we'll see more change. Like, well, I don't know what Nas actually did. And I don't know what Greeley specifically did during his period. I'm sure Travis has more insight, but either way, so it's like when I saw this change and I already accepted to join the show, I was like, what is my opinion? Well, the one or two times I've seen Nas, she was a nice person, but I think all people, you know, will be kind up front. But I had literally no idea what their decisions were, but I at least know that they treated the people around them well. And I'm like, okay, at least that's the only thing. So I can't even say shit about this conversation, but I'd at least caution people who are having extreme reactions to it to be like, do you actually know what they did?
I think
what they contributed.
I think your point and Papa Smithy's point is fair. Like, Nas is certainly not going into a meeting room and looking at a whiteboard and building out an entire format. I do think Nas signed off on that format, right? And on the MSI changes. And I think...
Okay, we like that then.
She had the ability she was in a position to say, no, I don't want that. Or I want to cut budget from MSI and reallocate it to Worlds and stuff. Like, and a lot of times these leadership positions are what the people in charge of them make it in turn, like based off of the amount of agency you are given. So, for instance, John Needham is not spending a lot of time focusing on, like, he's focusing on the very, very high level macro aspects of LoL esports and managing things like how do we go from 10 teams down to 5, or 10 leagues, 9 leagues down to 5, and he's doing that in tandem with people like Nas and Greeley. But like those are the people who are ultimately like helping to build this stuff out and pitching it to Needham. So like, I think that role can be dramatically impactful, and I do think that in the same way, I don't think anyone. There was a lot of conversation before Mark came into the role where people who are often very critical and very naysaying about everything said, "Oh, the commissioner role is a fake role. Mark has no ability to do anything," and like. Mark is, for instance, not able to be like, no, fuck you, Chris Greeley. We're going to have LCS during July 4th, and we're not going to participate in eSports World Cup. I don't think Mark can do that. But anybody who has been watching LCS for a long time can look at the broadcast and see the impact that him coming in and of what he's done, and even just in little things like the fact that he has been so communicative and has done all these updates with people, and like these roles can be very impactful. So I do think that while it is important to note, yes, Nas is not sitting there building out every single thing. People in these leadership positions can make dramatic impacts on the space. So
Yeah. If I'm just judging based off the actions that have happened, MSI changes have been my favorite of all time. It's probably, for me, it's the better format than Worlds, but I also enjoy Worlds quite a bit. And then the broadcast changes for LCS, I've also enjoyed every aspect of that. So it's like, I think I've been lucky to come into the LCS and see pretty large change when I first came into today. So if I'm to judge based off of all these things, then great, I enjoy it. And the one positive thing is like people wanted best of threes, we fucking got best of threes. Don't know what'll happen next year, but it's like it's very clear at least that they are listening to the community, which is the important part of all of it. So, yeah, going back to it, don't know what decisions were actually made by who, and I don't think the community knows that. I mean, I know the community doesn't know that either, so I think the extreme reactions to it is something that I would really caution people on because it's just misdirected. But at least from what we've seen, I've been a fan of the changes.
yeah, I think it's fair for people who are just who are frustrated with the way things have been to say I would like to see different leadership changes, you know. And I'm not saying that I fit in that category. I liked Nas, and I feel like especially the changes that we've seen this year are probably some of the better changes we could see given the financial constraints that I expect have been put on the esports department. But I don't fault anyone who's like, hey, things don't feel good right now. I would like to see somebody else running the show, you know?
Yeah.
So Travis, your sentiment is that like this is a positive change or negative?
I think it is a neutral change. Like I don't.
It's so hard to know like who does what. I know I don't want to add to this conversation. I really have nothing else to add. But
I mean, I have a pretty good understanding of who does what, and I just don't think like Greeley has been doing everything for the last 6 months already, probably longer than that. Like the funniest thing I saw, and again I like Nas, but the funniest thing I saw in that post was like her saying, "I'm going to stay on for a couple of months to help with the transition," and I'm like, I don't like. You've been gone for 6 months. Like, in what world do you need to be around for the next couple months? I'm sure it's, you know, nice for her to go around and like shake hands and say goodbye to everybody, and it is nice that she's getting this graceful thing rather than just like piecing out. But like, there's not. I don't think there's going to need to be any transition because, like, this entire new system was built in the past 6 months by Greeley and his team of people. So like, I don't think that it's. I don't think it's going to be like much of a difference. And like Greeley, I've never heard anything that has suggested that Greeley has some radical vision that's different from Nas. So like I don't think this is as big of a deal as everybody's making it. Other than I understand like the people who have been frustrated with the leadership, I don't think should look at this and be like, oh good, now everything's going to change, because I don't think anything is going to change. If that answers your question, Trespasser.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts or anything else you want to weigh in on?
No, I'm good.
Thank you so
Where
much
did
for the call.
Trespasser come from? Where'd that name come from? I need to know.
Oh, I
Unless
think
unless it's
no, I'm like, I think I don't really like fit in anywhere I belong, so I was like, I'm a trespasser, you know. So yeah.
what the fuck? You belong in this community. We love you, Trespasser.
Oh, thanks, Raz. Appreciate that.
Raz, why you open up the trauma door? You know, all right. we no longer ask anyone what their names are from. They get to keep that to themselves, and we don't have to make them air out any of their.
We're a
their
show of
issues
love.
on the show.
Okay.
I thought it was in reference to like a dinosaur of sorts, so I'm glad that Raz asked. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
See, we're a show of love. We are accepting and loving. All right. We all have our own demons in the hiding behind that door. That's why I don't open that door. But also, that's why we're here, guys. That's what esports brought us together.
Trespasser, anything you want to shout out?
Oh yeah, shout out to Kia, NZXT, Prize Picks. If you do sign up for Prize Picks, use code Travis with a capital T. Shout out to Raz's little LCS swarm skit that made me laugh really hard out loud. I liked it a lot. And one more shout out to Cubby and Karen Moser stream because they put me on 30, and that guy's gonna be in the LCS next year. He's gonna dominate. So
Hell yeah.
oh, one more. C9 is gonna win versus TL, dude. Like, come on, like
Ooh,
my
there we
boys at
go.
C9. Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we
shooting
haven't
the
had
shot.
any goals on that today.
Thanks so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, man. All right, peace out.
Speaking of Kia, I want to give a shout out to Kia, our sponsor, because and not only just Kia, but I also want to give a shout out to a special member of the TGI community. Let me go ahead and pull up. I don't know if I'll be able to show it on screen, but Sonic 5040, who is a member of the Discord that I have seen chat for a very, very long time, they this past week tweeted that they purchased a new Kia. They have a beautiful picture of it. They shared it in the Discord, and I'm really excited about it. They wrote, shout out to Travis Gaffer for opening my eyes to the brand that is Kia. Kia helped get this man to Worlds, would you? I was 100% going to get a Chevy when time came to get a car, but Travis's sponsorship made me look into the brand, and here we are now. Thanks, Travis. And I think it is so cool that folks that listen to the show have spent, like, over the years, you all have supported me with beverages that you have purchased, computers that you have purchased, food delivery services, and it is really crazy that now this is, I think, the third time since the last little bit over a month since we announced this partnership, that people have gone forward and supported our sponsor with a car purchase, an automobile purchase. So that is super cool. So again, thank you, Sonic 5040, for picking up a new Kia. Thank you to Kia for sponsoring the show. If you haven't checked out Kia yet, you're in the market for a new car, you're thinking about getting a vehicle in the upcoming year or two, go take a look at Kia. They are super cool. We're chatting with them about maybe doing something interesting at LCS Finals. More news on that to go in the future. But again, thank you to Kia for sponsoring Hotline League and a lot of our content this summer. If you haven't gone and seen yet, the new surprise test that I posted this past week is really popped off pretty hard. And it is a test where I go ask current LCS pros to name old LCS pros. I show them pictures of some people that most of you, I believe, would recognize, and it's fun to see if they do or not. That's also a piece of content that's promoted by or sponsored by Kia. So thank you to Kia for sponsoring so much cool content this summer, and please check them out. All right, we've got one last caller to go for the show. We're running
Speaking
a little
of which,
overtime. Yes.
Got to get dinner with a brother of mine, Kiwi kid. He came in town, so he showed me a great spot that was literally next door. I was like, how do you know this place? And I mean, I've been there once, but yeah, got to chat with him.
Is it the place? I don't want to dox you, but is it the
Yep.
place that I think it is?
I
That's
think
right next door?
so. Is it?
We have a friend that goes there all the time.
Yeah, it is.
You've never been there?
I've been there one time, but it was like fairly recently. So it's like
That
you
is
knew the place. You've been
crazy
there
to me.
Way more than I have.
Yeah. I've been there more than you, and it's right
Yeah.
next to your place. That is
Yeah.
so funny. Also, I'm
I
surprised
missed-
you've just never gone with our friend.
I missed out on the opener for this.
What's that?
I missed out on the opener for this.
We're trying to talk. We're trying not to dox Raz while also referencing a restaurant that's near
Place
this
that's
place.
right
Yeah.
next door to me.
Ah, okay.
Is Kiwi Kid not at Riot anymore?
No, he is, but he works remotely, so he came in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, anyway, God is here. God, where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas, Nevada. I was just there a little bit over a week ago. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Your name is God?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. Go ahead, ask him. Ask him,
Um,
Raz.
Where'd you get your name from?
um, I just got it because that was the name of my first dog.
Oh, really? Okay, that's sick, actually. No, wait, that's sick.
Yeah. Oh, so my take, yeah. So I'm actually a very new viewer to to the East like League of Legends esports scene, and I first started the LCK, and I was like, wow, this is boring. Like I was too high level. Like I don't understand. Like it's like I see people play. I'm like I know they're good, but I can't tell. LPL that didn't go any much better, and then when at LCK, I actually like started watching LCK at the start of summer split after MSI. Um, and dude, it like the content of like I love the players, like just their personality wise, and I think I got in at a good time when their thing is like talk your split is like the slogan, and like for example, like I guess my favorite player for now is inspired, just because of that inspired like Jensen stuff that happened at MSI, or maybe started before that, and I see a lot. Like, I'm always a rooter for the underdog, and when I see people like Flame inspired, and then he just shows up and like destroys Dig, like I'm just like 7 times more the fan of FlyQuest now. And what I really enjoy is that the pros podcast, like they talk about just like they just talk, and I get to more know more of the personalities that pros are, and it's just so super entertaining.
And so
And so
your general take is, I mean, I'm loving everything you're saying.
I'm loving this shit.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so like what I'm saying is that like the personality of these players in LCS and like them showcasing it so much actually just like hooked me in, and I can't let go. Versus
I
other regions like LCK, where maybe because it's the language barrier, but that like they're not really showcased as much.
yeah.
Yeah, I will say immediately that I think the LCK has leveled up with some of their content that they've been doing now,
Board,
unfortunately. Hooney is,
boardroom.
yeah, the
Great.
boardroom. Now, sadly, Hooney has gone to the military, but like just the stuff that they were able to do now is much better. And they have like an analyst desk, which of course didn't exist like years ago, years and years ago. So like they've definitely gotten better in being able to give personality to their players, but the language barrier is always going to suck. And you're right about the LPL side. Um, just any content that we can show the Western viewers just can't it doesn't really exist unless if you're able to watch the Chinese stream or understand Chinese and have like the Weibo side. Like being able to see player personality from LPL is probably the hardest it's been in a while. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think the LCS we've been really forcing, but like pushing, like putting the players into the forefront, like putting them in on casts, putting them on the desk more frequently. Like anytime we're on Sunday, we're probably gonna have a player that's on the desk or in the lounge. My producer's gonna kill me for saying desk. In the lounge. So like we're trying to put the player personalities into the forefront, and pros has been a great way of doing it. There has never been a show out there that has had like something like pros. We've never had pros with a host in our lives. So I'm glad that we're finally able to do it. So that's been a big win for LoL esports. So yeah, it's been good here.
Yeah.
I will say though, last thing, look, you came in at the worst meta. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I promise you the LPL games are much more exciting. It's
Yeah.
the slowest meta it's probably ever been. So
Uh, Caller, out of curiosity, what had you picking the other leagues before LCS, given that you were native to NA?
Uh, it's because Cadril was co-streaming LCK, and Cadril was the streamer I watched the most. And so next after LCK, after like I didn't really hook onto it. I mean, this goes to be another tangent, like just co-streaming, just like people that like co-stream but are also just like actually into the game. Because I watched EWC, and he didn't co-stream it, but other people did. And so I was looking around, like LS did, and it was probably the worst viewing experience in my entire life. He just had, I don't know who else on his call. He just did not talk about the game at all. I was getting annoyed at him. And so like I just ended up watching um EWC through VODs, not even in real time. I just couldn't not handle it. So like him being just one of the best co-streamers that just actually cares about watching
Can I
esports.
can I ask how you? Okay, so when did you start watching esports? Like LoL esports specifically.
Uh, Probably I guess middle of the spring
Middle of the
season.
spring. Okay, so you've been watching for about 6 months now.
Yeah.
How did you? Why did you decide to start watching LoL esports?
Well, I just got a new internship, which just has me sitting at a desk most of the time. So I have a lot of downtime to kill, or just time to listen to or watch something else while I'm doing my work.
Gotcha.
And so, I've been playing League for well over a decade,
And
but
so,
I never had, just so much like downtime where I could watch League. And I guess at this point, like I'm not too big a fan of playing it, so watching it is what I do.
sure. And so then what did you do? You just like turned on Twitch and went to League and saw Cadril and decided to watch?
Yeah, he was just like the biggest streamer with like League on his thing, so I just watched him.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Um, because I would just not. I think most people assume that people already watch LoL esports and then they go to co-streamers. And it's interesting now that like at least in Cadrill's case, he is so big of a streamer that like people are going to him first and then getting into LoL esports through him. It's just like it's cool to hear that because it challenges I think some assumptions that some people, including myself, probably make.
It helps that at least for now, because he is such a large streamer that he's kind of eclipsing the main broadcast, and a lot of it is the fact that the co-streamers will be able to also play the audio from the main broadcast. So you're still
Yeah.
listening to the casters, you're still listening to the analyst desk.
That was Cadril.
Yeah, then you're hearing from their perspective, which the people on the desk cannot express. Like, for instance, I love listening to co-streams, and it's because you get to listen to former players' perspectives or analyst perspectives. Everyone's going to have a pretty different perspective, and I like listening to LS streams. The one that you were talking about was probably pretty collaborative, but I didn't get to watch it. But LS will always have his set opinions on the game, and so basically anytime you watch a draft, he's going to be able to express that view, and he talks about it like scientifically, at least like to his viewpoint of what he would want to see. Even if I disagree to some points, like that's still really challenging you in the way that you view the game, and of course like the gameplay itself, which is where the whole freezing meme comes from. Like I love shit talking, but also just being in casual stream or Dom stream when it's LPL, or Yamato stream, or Kelsey stream. Like there's so many streamer personalities that are out there right now that are free to say whatever the fuck they were on because they want, because it's their broadcast. Like it's
Yeah.
their viewpoint, it's their stream, they own it. If Meteos and Sneaky want to talk about dick butts and whatever the fuck, like they do it and it's hilarious. So like it just depends on how you want to consume it. So it's like the whole to each his own thing. But I enjoy it. It challenges your viewpoint a lot of the time. So I love the fact that you got into LoL esports through a co-streaming personality and that you ended up like exploring, because that's, I mean, it wasn't a co-streamer personality for me, but like I remember back in university and I was trying to fucking finish a paper. I was like, okay, I'm basically nocturnal anyways. I'm gonna watch NLB, which was the tier 2 league of LC champions. And then I was like, this is slow and I don't really like it. And then I went to LPL, LSPL, and like really enjoyed that. And the personalities and the players and all that. And then I went to, I mean, I was already like a North American League fan naturally, but it's one of those things where it's nice to see that there's still a pipeline for new fans coming in, even though you're a player, a new esports fan. And the fact that it's a new way of doing it, like Travis said, is cool.
Yeah. The other question I have for you is how did you find Hotline League?
YouTube just recommend it was like something live, and I'm like, whoa, I can like talk about stuff. So I decided that I actually just joined the Discord. I think not even an hour ago. So
Nice. Wait, is this your first time
Welcome.
watching the show?
I saw it recommended before,
Okay.
but this is the first time me catching it live.
Damn. Okay. So this is the first time you're catching it live and your first time on the show. Very cool. Well, welcome to the community. Hopefully you have a good time. It's really like I think so many people feel as though the people that watch a lot of esports have been watching it for 4, 5, 6, 10 years, so it's always neat to hear somebody new enter the space, and it's also really cool to have you come on the show. So let me ask you these two quick questions. As a new person, what is your favorite thing that you've enjoyed so much about watching League Esports? Like, what has excited you to watch it the most?
And biggest pain point. I want to add that.
Cubby, I said I had two things, and I was going to ask him
okay.
the first one, and then the second one was going to be like, what would you change? But
Well,
yeah,
we're in
first one, what is your favorite thing about watching all esports?
It has to be just like the shit talking between the LCS players. Um, like of course I don't know the history behind it, but just
Yeah.
just people just like shit talking, and then Jensen getting his ass slammed in the game is pretty funny. And just the reactions of players, and the one I guess the biggest pain point is just how negative everything seems about like performance wise. Of course, like
Oh,
I don't care about like international performance. I'm new. I don't even know like I just know that the West equals bad from reading all the comments and hearing all the talks. But like just being like, oh, there's no hope for NA, or this is this is NA's golden year versus a series of being shit against EU or something like that, or even just like the small stuff like I guess hate versus like inspired or something like that. Or I guess hate and guess like individual players for what, for example, like the inspired Jensen thing. Like I think they made it pretty clear in the video where like they don't really care about it, but the comments underneath are just like they just felt like they didn't watch it at all.
yeah. Yeah. No, I think that is really insightful for a lot of us to hear. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, God, for calling in. Anything that you want to shout out here at the end?
Captain Flowers, he was such a good caster when he's casting both top lane and bot lane in that TL Immortals at the same time. Like how can anyone do that?
Yeah. No, he is definitely one of the best parts of our ecosystem. So thanks so much, God, for calling in, and we'll catch you next time. Hope you're around for many years to come.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Have a good one.
Small thing I
Guys.
want to mention if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that co-streams have done really well that some broadcasts did in the past, like way back, the LPL broadcast felt like Twitch chat felt like a community. OGN Twitch chat felt like a community. Sometimes it's really hard to make that like a real feeling when you look at LEC Twitch chat, or in the past LCS Twitch chat, we've been trying to make it feel like more of a community. But fuck, man, if you go into a casual stream or any of the a Dom stream or a Yamato stream or any of the co-streams, literally every co-stream, it feels like a real community. And that's something that I think we missed from, back in 2014, 2015, around those times, that is just good to have. That can reignite interest.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love that call. I think that was a really great way to end the show. So thank you to that caller for sharing his story with us. All right. That is the show, though. So we'll go around and do some shout-outs. Cubby, what do you want to shout out?
Nothing much. Shout out to Raz, and shout out to LCS and NACL, which we'll be concluding here in the next 2 weeks. We have a really fun playoff picture for NACL. We have 6 teams confirmed for playoffs, and the last 4, like 3 out of the last 4, are going to be fighting for the last 2 spots. And that means a lot in our league, because if you don't make playoffs, then you're in the promotion relegation tournament. But Challenge has actually been really competitive this split, so I do want to give a special shout out to Challengers League. I know I haven't talked about them a lot in here of late, but it should be a really fun end of the
How's
split.
Brandon Sanderson doing?
Still numero uno, and
That's what
they're
I'm
probably going to
talking
go
about.
9-0. Yeah.
Dude, I hope that feels good for them
Yeah.
whenever he's getting those updates. Like, I think
But
that's kind of cool.
we had a Blue Otter C9's partner org beat FlyQuest Challengers, which was a really big deal. And that's FlyC's third loss on the season. So I still expect them to be a front runner in playoffs, but I think that we have a lot more competitive teams this split, so it should be a lot more fun.
Yeah, I ran into Levitate actually. He was in the studio.
Oh, yeah?
Did he carry up Blue Otter?
Yeah.
So of course, he was pretty happy about it.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, it's really cool to see that's happening, and that of course he's LA based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think USC. I think he plays for them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you got for us, Rez?
Oh my God. Well, I guess one thing I got to push is watch LCS coming up this week. C9 versus Team Liquid. If you haven't already seen it, plastered on every minute of the broadcast. So that'll be exciting. Other than that, I think I have a pretty packed week, but none on stream. And I'm sure a lot of people that are on my stream are pissed off because I have not streamed in ages. I just haven't. I'm sorry. I apologize. My bad. It'll probably happen sooner or later. I've been kicking myself at it. But yes. Yes, the FIFA streams need to come back, or me just VOD reviewing. So it's kind of, I've been playing more FIFA. It's just a little sad because I just know by September there's going to be a new one, and I'm not going to buy the new one. I know that I'm probably going to do it anyways, but I already spent like $1,000 plus, more than $1,000 on Ultimate Team, and I'm not going to do it every year. That's actually the most crackhead thing I could even think of. I promise I'm not going to do it.
That's a lot.
So we are trying to remove that from our lives.
I can't get an Ultimate Team. I will say I'm having a similar experience with Madden, as I'm in a 6-person league. We did like a fantasy draft. We've been playing it out. It's been kind of fun.
I cannot imagine spending that much money on a hobby. That is insane. Anyway, my shout out is to Bloomborough by Magic the Gathering. It's a really great new set. I went to pre-release on Friday and had such a good time. And then hosted mine yesterday at 100 Thieves and really enjoyed it. And so shout out to everybody who came out to that. Met some really great people last night and looking forward to playing it some more. And I will be, actually, as more serious a note on the shout outs for Magic stuff, I will be at Command Fest Los Angeles, which is August 16th, 17th, and 18th. I will be not there in the evening of the 16th because I'm going to an Olivia Rodrigo concert. But other than that, I will be at Command Fest Los Angeles. So please check it out. I'll be looking at playoffs games on my phone. I know. But really excited to be going to that. And I'm helping to work. I'm helping work on a lot of cool stuff with it too, with creators coming into it and all that stuff, and partnering with FlyQuest and the event organizers, Laughing Dragon, to host like a creator mixer the night before. So it should be a very, very good time. So please, we can go there and we can watch the playoff games together from my phone while we play Commander. Either way, thanks everybody for coming out and watching the show tonight. Really appreciate it. Thanks everybody who subbed, because we are massively down on subs because Twitch decided it was a good idea to raise the cost and everybody went and canceled. So I would... if you do sub, it is really appreciated. Oh, and over on YouTube, if you become a member, you will get to watch this week. Actually, I have to do it tomorrow. Yeah, I have to do it tomorrow or Wednesday. I will be uploading... Holy moly. Somebody named Roslal sent...
That's Raj to you.
Raj. Okay, yeah. Raj sent 20 gifted subs in the Twitch chat just now. Thank you, Raj. You are... Nobody has... you are the highest amount of subs that have been given out tonight. Nobody has or will be able to match or beat that number, so I really appreciate it. But yes, in the next 2 days we will have a members-only video going up on my YouTube channel. It's about sponsorship stuff. So, but legitimately, thank you, Rez. You're the only guest that comes on this show and then pays me at the end of it. For everyone else, this has been Hotline League. We'll see you back next Monday for a very exciting episode. See you then.